Welcome to Church Jams Now, the podcast where three former youth group kids and current music nerds deep dive into Christian music from the 90s and 2000s.
And 1970s?
And the 70s. I, of course, am your co-host,
time.
Kylan Savage. With me, as always, is Mr. TJ Smith.
Man, so long ago we were in the garden, you guys, but now I feel like we should go be in another land. Don't you think?
Yes, that was very good.
Yes. Thanks.
And, of course, we have beautiful producer Josh.
Hey guys, I'm just happy to be back with another week with my small circle of friends.
There we go. I love it.
Nice one. Nice one.
So this is going to round out our Larry Norman trilogy.
It is.
Has it been?
It's 3 years running.
Yeah, one a year around this time,
Yeah.
right? We've
Yeah,
always
right.
done
Yeah.
that.
Normally in August.
So,
Always kind of late summer.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of our sort of
pretty fun.
long-running series. The first time we did Larry Norman, I had COVID.
That's true.
Oh,
And
yeah, I forgot about
Didn't
that.
know
Come
who
so
Larry
far.
Norman was. Yeah, and look at us now,
Yeah. Look at us now, man.
covering the third in his sort of what he calls his trilogy. Is there a name for the trilogy, or just the?
I don't know if there is. He just calls it
Yeah.
his trilogy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. If there's like an official number for it
Yeah.
or like name for
Name.
it, title,
Yeah.
name. But I cannot wait. This thing is wild, y'all.
It is.
We're gonna have so
Yeah.
much fun.
Okay. So before we get into research, I think we just need to address what we're gonna do and why we decided
Yes.
to do it. This was sort of a last minute pivot for us.
This
I
was
should
last
mention.
night. Yes.
Yeah, and then we
Mhm.
didn't fully
Last night.
decide until literally
True.
seconds before we started recording. Okay.
We're going for it.
So if
We're
you've
doing it.
listened to this show for any amount of time, I feel like, listeners, you should know how much we love an alternate track list. We often stress the importance of sequencing on an album. We feel very, very, very strongly about that because I think sequencing, even if you have a bunch of great songs, sequencing can make or break an entire album.
Mm-hmm.
And
So true.
The way we're going to cover this record, I think, really speaks to that as sort of an experiment. So, TJ, I want to hand it over to you a little bit to sort of explain what you brought to us last night and why we decided to do this episode this way and what that actually is.
Yeah. So, and there's actually some reasoning that's very silly that I didn't tell y'all about that I'm excited to say for the first time on mic. So it'll be a little bit of a surprise for you. But there is the actual reason, the substantial reason, the real reason, which was, we knew we were covering this album, so we were going through our listening and note taking and all that, and I was going through it and just happened to stumble upon songsoflarrynorman.com, which is a resource that very keen listeners will remember that we have referred to in previous
Right.
episodes about Larry. It is a veritable goldmine, a well
Someone has
of
done a lot of
information.
work.
Lots of work. We appreciate you. And I apologize, friend, if you're out there listening, if you made this website, whoever you are, thank
Reach
you.
out to us.
I
Reach out
apologize.
to us.
Don't know
if you
your
hear
name,
this.
but please, yeah, we would
Let
love
us
to
know.
have you on. That would be fascinating.
Contact at churchjamsnow.com.
There you go. Hit us up. But basically, I came across the page for this album and realized, wow, there are so many versions of this album. And as we said earlier off mic, Kylan, you mentioned that there is precedence for this. This is not a new development from Larry. We've seen him kind of
I mean, Larry's the
things
king
and-
of the alternate track list.
Mhm.
yeah. He's a true
well,
artist in
it's-
that way
it's-
where he
And I'm sure
likes to
every
play.
every artist that releases an album, or most artists that release an album, talk about sequencing. But I feel like we have a lot of material about Larry Norman specifically being pretty vocally unhappy with how the label decided to release his music.
yeah.
And he's in a little bit of a different situation too, because he has gone through all these different like phases of new media which has given him
Right.
even more like opportunities to release things in different ways. Like,
Yeah,
'cause
depending
it
on
was
the
originally
format,
just it was
strengths and
just
weaknesses.
releasing LPs, and then he started doing. Then cassettes were coming out, and then like CDs were a thing. So it was like as a new medium came out, I was like, well, I could play around with this format and add some stuff here. So that's like
Right.
a little bit different than some artists being like, oh, I just resequenced it for a Spotify playlist or something.
For no reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, with all that said, I came across a version of this album that I guess Larry put out in '88. There's a little kind of inconsistency between what's listed on the songsoflarrynorman.com and what's listed as the track list on Discogs for that special edition, but it's a special edition released in 1988 on cassette. And so who knows, Josh, to your point about how the format maybe informed that. But it also, I saw on the Songs of Larry Norman that this version was closer to Larry's originally intended vision for the album. And I was going through listening to these songs in that order, this version of the album. There's some tracks that are, that share the track listing with the quote unquote official version that was originally released and the version that's out on Spotify and other streaming platforms. And there are some songs that are on this one that aren't on that one. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag as far as that goes. But the big thing was the sequencing being wildly different. And there's some key tracks that I think show up on the '88 special edition track list that I think are important. I think they add a lot of context, and I think the sequence also adds a lot of context. The silly reason that I wanted to cover this version that I didn't tell you guys is it was released in 1988, which was my birth year, and my birthday was 2 days ago.
It
Right.
So
Right.
it was a little sneaky birthday
a little
treat to
sneaky
myself.
I love that.
I was
the thing,
like,
you
this
could
is
have
how
just
I'll
told
allow
us.
it.
It's a
Here's the thing.
TJ
You
version.
also, this is the most TJ thing ever because you put all of this work
Yeah.
into justifying why it worked without even considering the fact that if you had just told us like, hey, can we do this version instead? It's my birthday. Both of
It's
us
my
immediately would be like, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, no problem. Like,
I had
you
to have
went
an
through-
iron-clad case
What,
No,
ready to go.
we were we
No,
would just
because
be so down
because I
to just be like, yeah,
actually
sure.
feel strongly about it. I think this is, I think this is really interesting. I
Yeah.
think it's an interesting experiment for us as a podcast because, like
For
you
sure.
said, Colin, we talk about sequencing all the time. Now we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're
true.
showing that we
Yeah.
care about that alternate track list as
true.
a viable way to experience an
Yeah.
album, and we appreciate that Larry did the
So-
work for us.
Yeah. So that being said, if you're listening to the show, if the way that you listen to it is when we talk about an album before we dig into it, if you go just to Spotify and listen to the album, this ain't gonna fly.
Nope.
We're listening
You're gonna need
to
to pivot.
like a modified version from the Larry Norman Bandcamp page.
Yeah, I love how TJ
Exactly.
put it is like you kind of have to babysit, your
babysit.
listening
Yeah.
experience, which was the perfect way
Yes.
to put it. It's like
Yeah.
you kind of you're like, okay, I got 3 tracks here that are in the right order, but then I got to jump to this track, and then I have to
Yeah,
jump to this
And
guy,
then back to
like-
this one,
Yeah.
and down to that
So
other
so
one.
maybe we can put maybe we can put like in this episode description. Maybe we can put this track list so people can maybe see that
track list?
before
Yeah.
Yep.
we get to each track.
It's a great
And maybe
idea.
go to larrynorman.bandcamp.com and listen to these. So
Yep.
Totally.
without further ado, Josh, can you give us some research, give us some context? Because
Yes,
there's
I would
another
love to.
there's some fun facts about this record.
There really are. And dear listeners out there, I was so proud last night when TJ first brought this up of like, hey, I've been doing this research. I want to talk about this alternate track list that I discovered. And then Kylan like talked about this other, like 2 other like fun facts about the record. And I was like, look at these guys doing
listen,
so
we
much
love Larry
research.
Norman on this show. Like
We do.
Well, and there's so much to get into with him
Yeah,
that you
there
can
really
like
is.
find and like you can discuss. So yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to say on mic, it was very fun for me last night and today talking about it. I'm very proud of you guys.
Thank you.
I don't have
Thanks,
my
Josh.
big. I love getting to like have big surprise notes in my research. I don't think I'm gonna have any tonight for y'all.
Yeah,
So
I
But
don't think I'm gonna be surprised.
it's okay. I'll be all right. Okay, so let's get into it. Members for this record we're going to talk about are Larry Norman, of course, on vocals, harmonies, guitar, percussion, piano, and producing this record.
Ooh.
We have Mr. Randy Stonehill, who we've talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
He's on second guitar and all harmonies. John
Lynn. John
Wonderfingers Lynn. Look, you even stole that. You even got that note.
Yeah, dude. I went down a John
great.
Lynn rabbit hole after listening to this record because the guitar is insanely good.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
wild.
Yeah. On lead guitar, Tim Ayers on bass guitar, and Mark Walker on drums. I know the last couple records he's had a lot of like studio guys in and out, so I felt like it was like we have a pretty concise group of people that we can name. So In Another Land was released in 1976. I don't know the time. It's been very hard to pinpoint specific dates when these records were released. I think we found Only Visiting and So Long Ago's, but this one I did not find. So sometime in 76. It is 48 years old at the time of recording, so it's the only one we're not doing for its 50th, but we're doing it for our third Larry Norman year in a row to complete the trilogy, so we had to.
Yeah,
It is his fourth LP and the third in his trilogy, of course. It was released on Solid Rock Records, which is Larry's label, but it was distributed through Word Records. And so I have in my notes here to talk about kind of like what TJ got into of the alternate track list of it all, is that kind of like what we saw on the first Larry Norman record and even on So Long Ago, The Garden, that the label took off certain songs that he originally intended to release on So Long Ago, and that was the case here. There was a couple songs they took off and made him do, or he had to like fit in an extra song at the end. Right. So I was going to mention those, but we're actually going to talk about them in depth. So we will just discuss them as we come to them, which is fun. Larry, of course, produced the record, who hadn't produced the last two, so this is his first time producing one of his records, or at least one of the records that we've covered.
Right.
And let's see. Oh, I did want to talk about kind of like, I did find in a 1980 interview, Larry Norman explained the purpose of In Another Land, where he said, In Another Land is the third part of the trilogy. It's about the future, and rather than speculate about what the future might hold, I tried to stick closely to what the Bible says it will hold. I think because the future-oriented album was so directly tied to the scriptures, people felt that this is Larry's best album because this is the one they like best, the one I like best, or this is the most Christian album. I think that Only Visiting This Planet or So Long Ago, The Garden were much better conceptual statements, much better medicine for a non-Christian to swallow. The front cover of In Another Land posed a problem. I couldn't really go and stand on a hillside in front of the New Jerusalem, so I put together a lot of photographs of Israel photographs of...
I read this too, and it just cracks me up that he's like, I couldn't go to New Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Like as if he had to say that.
Yeah, I just in case you weren't aware, I couldn't go to New Jerusalem. So someone put together did a painting of me. So, but yeah, I think we talked about this so long ago, The Garden, that the trilogy is like Only Visiting This Planet represents the present day. So Long Ago, The Garden is the past. In Another Land is the future. So it's a time traveling trilogy.
It's the best way. It's the best way to do a trilogy.
It is.
I love it.
Yep. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that there is in the record. I love whenever bands will do this, where they'll like name certain sides of the records. Side A of the record is he has it subtitled "In the World," and side B is "But Not of the World." It's always a fun thing. You can just add extra stuff for LPs, which I like.
Yeah, that is cool.
There's one band that does that all the time with their records, and I can't think of who it is right now. I don't think they're a Church Jams Now band, but
it'll come to you at like 3 a.m. tonight.
It's maybe. It's not even a band I listen to. I think I'm just aware that they do it. So, yep. So that about wraps up my research.
Awesome.
Nice.
Josh, there's another way you can be proud of me.
Hey, you still have it.
Yeah, I do. It's broken. I'm so mad.
Yeah, tell the listeners what happened.
Yeah, what do you got there?
So I have In Another Land, Larry Norman, a vinyl LP that I found at a thrift store in Rogers, Arkansas for $4.
So great.
And it's like a little beat up, but it's like, it's pretty cool. On the back it says Larry Norman presents the trilogy part 3 In Another Land. But I had it up here on my bookshelf, and then something happened and a bunch of stuff fell down.
Reggie the Bat.
Yeah,
Reggie.
it was Reggie the Bat. And the record fell.
Oh no, It's like somebody
cracked.
took a bite out of it.
I know.
Like it looks like
It
a
literally looks like a
cartoon
cartoon
Reggie
bite.
size bite.
Yeah.
bite.
Yeah.
So you just can't play the first like 2 songs on either side, right? You
Yeah.
can still play
Yeah.
like tracks 3 through 6
Yeah,
on
the middle.
both
You can
sides.
play the
Yeah.
middle of the album.
But yeah, so I got the physical media for this one.
Look at you.
I know.
Nice, man.
That's another reason
Love
why
it.
I'm so proud of you guys.
Thanks, dude. We
Yay.
come fucking prepared for Larry Norman.
Just
Like,
look
Beautiful
at,
producers.
From 2 years
Proud of
ago,
us.
from me being like,
That's true.
guys, I
That's
really want
true.
to talk about the record.
Oh my
Just
God.
trust me, please. And you're like, I don't even know who this guy is.
Dude,
And now
yeah.
you guys are bringing.
we
more than I
questioned
am.
you hard. I think we even maybe had private text messages being like, I don't know, but Josh has been
Should
doing
we
such
let-
a good job. I guess
It's
like
like
we
our
should give him
20th
this one.
episode.
To a
This
great
is too
artist.
early. Yeah.
Yeah. And look at us now, man. Freaking Larry Norman evangelist. I've got a Larry Norman live VHS somewhere around here. And I've got
That's
my
awesome.
Larry Norman Only Visiting This Planet vinyl that I'm 99% certain is signed by Larry Norman.
That's
It looks
so cool.
Yes.
Okay, so guys, I think we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to dive into Another Land by Larry Norman.
Did we want to talk about flop and pop predictions?
Oh, right. Shit. Okay, before we do
We
that,
can get that.
flop or
Just
bop.
cut
We can
guys.
just cut
keep
it.
going. Just keep, yeah,
just
just
cut it.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Okay,
pretend you didn't say it.
so before we finish part A, so once again, I think we're continuing the trend of we've already listened to the record before we get into it.
multiple.
That's
sequences.
true.
Yes.
But before we get into it, would you guys have predicted a flop or bop?
Well, I was gonna say, Josh, do you happen to remember, as the trustworthy brain of the three of us, as far as like facts and figures goes, do you happen to remember if I flopped or bopped so long ago the garden? Because I
You and
don't
Kylan
recall.
Both flopped.
Yeah,
it.
we
I
both
was the
flopped it.
sole bop.
We were all
Okay.
three bops, right, on Only Visiting This Planet.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, and then
yes.
So Long Ago to the
I know
Garden
that.
was rough for TJ and I.
Yeah,
It was.
I thought that was right, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't one of those like squeak bop situations that I
Nope.
spaced out.
I wish it was, but it was not.
Yeah, I mean, me too. But
I know we wanted to love
that
it.
definitely informs. Yeah, I think we did. I
think
really,
that was the
think
hard
we all
thing.
went in.
I think we wanted it
hoping
to
love
be
it. Yeah,
Only Visiting This Planet Part 2.
yeah. So considering that, before going into the listening and the researching and note taking on this album, I think I would have given it a hesitant, hopeful bop prediction, because I think sometimes you can have an Empire Strikes Back situation, but I'm gonna have to kick it over to Kylan to give a great example of a trilogy whose second
Ooh.
installment is
Ooh.
actually a flop. Oh, never mind. Josh is on it.
Ooh. Back to the Future.
What do you got?
Wait,
right.
whoa,
You're right.
whoa.
Yes. Of course.
Wait, no, that's wrong. Wait,
What?
where the
Okay.
second one is not good?
Well,
Yes.
here's the thing. I
What are you
agree that
talking
the
about?
second
No,
one
what?
was a disappointment.
No, the
compared to the
third
first?
one. The
Have
third
you
one
But the
was
watched
a
Back
yeah,
to the
no,
Future
here,
too?
hear me out. But the
what
third
the
one
fuck is happening
didn't
right now?
fully.
No.
So I don't think the third one like came back and was a return to form in the way that I had hoped. So that analogy doesn't quite
Oh,
work
okay.
for me,
Okay. So
Josh.
you're wanting for. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
We're like the
for-
third
like,
one
listen,
is like
yeah, the third one
really
is for sure not quite the return to form. Yeah.
return to
Okay,
form. Yes.
okay.
That's the
Misunderstanding. Okay.
analogy I'm going for. So does anybody have anything like a trilogy where the second one's just like really a stinker, but 1 and 3 are great?
Yes. I would say maybe Nightmare on Elm Street could potentially
Oh,
fall within
okay.
that.
Sure.
Well, I don't think it's a stinker, but I think you could ostensibly compare it to Indiana Jones.
I would say, yeah, most of the public would say Indiana
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah, because Temple of Doom is
Yeah.
just like
Yeah, that
so
works.
weird and dark and out there.
It's
I
Yeah.
think
wonky.
I think
Yeah,
that's
right.
I
But
think
everyone loves Last Crusade.
that's right.
And it's like,
Right.
it's got the like,
That's
this
true.
is
That's a
fun,
great- let's go
Indiana
with that.
Jones.
Yeah, I think that's probably
So
our
it-
best comparison.
yeah, and actually, I think So Long Ago the Garden is a great analog
Because
for
it's
for
a prequel.
Temple.
It goes back in time.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. So Long Ago was my temple, and I think knowing that, I think I really wanted In Another Land to be Last Crusade,
right.
and so I think I would have rated it as a hopeful bop.
Hopeful Bob. Cool.
That would have been my hope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
What about y'all?
Well, I bopped So Long Ago the Garden, so I have higher hopes for this. I had higher hopes for this one than that one. I feel like this one is more popular than So Long Ago the Garden, so I was like, I think this will be better than the last one. But I was really hoping, I was like, I hope this one lands so that we can have a Indiana Jones situation where it's like the first and third are really good, and then there is some stuff to find on the second one that to enjoy kind of thing, but maybe not as critically lauded as the other installments.
Yeah, I'm curious to go back to So Long Ago the Garden after
me too
this experience and see if it changes for me.
Maybe there's an alternate track list waiting for us.
Yeah, probably. There's probably like 6 different versions.
We know Larry.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Kylan? Would you have given it a hopeful bop as well?
I think so. I think my thing with Larry Norman is much like an abusive partner or Clint Eastwood movies.
Oh no.
Even when he keeps disappointing me and hurting me, I'm going to go back hopeful every time.
Wow.
Oh,
this got dark.
Yeah, we can cut all that. I don't know.
I mean, you could have just kept the Clint Eastwood movies. We've been talking a lot
Sadly.
about movies, so you could have just kept that.
I should have just
You
kept
went
the
there.
movies.
You went there.
This is what happens when I shoot from the hip, man.
Yeah, stand-up comedian Kylan came out for a second.
It really did. But my point still stands.
It was great.
I'm gonna keep going back every time. Every new Larry Norman listen, I'm gonna go in with pretty high expectations. So would have predicted a full-on bop.
Full
on Bob.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
returning to its
like
former glory.
That's true. All right, guys. So now we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to dive into another land. Hey guys, I have a question for you.
Ooh, what's up?
Are y'all aware? I don't know if we've actually ever talked about this, but are y'all aware? And okay, I'm going to highlight a record from our favorite sponsor ever, colliderecords.com. They have an album on vinyl for sale that I'm super excited about that doesn't really fit the demographic of our show, but you know what? We're all multifaceted cinnamon rolls of men. Correct?
We are.
Yes,
Can
we
confirm.
are.
Have we ever talked about how much I freaking love Randy Newman?
Yes, I have had conversations with you about Randy Newman.
Josh, did you know that I love
I don't
Randy
know.
Newman?
I actually don't know.
I also really love Randy.
I love Randy Newman. And there is a double, beautiful sea blue.
Has he done anything that I'm aware of, Kylan? Is there...
Am
I familiar with his work?
Short People?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Yep, Short People.
Yep.
They got
I'm sure
the one Josh knows.
You love Short People. He's got a best of vinyl. I don't know. Do you guys like best of albums? Do you guys like greatest hits?
It depends on the curation.
It's a great answer, TJ.
So I was looking at the track list of this best of Randy Newman. They have for sale at Collide Records. One, the vinyl looks beautiful, and the songs that they picked are really, really, really good. Obviously, they've got "You've Got a Friend in Me."
I don't know that one,
but
it's an obscure. It's from a
it's like it's a deep cut. It's a Newman deep cut.
All right, I'll check it out. I'll check
classic,
it out. About it, Josh.
Classic Newman deep cut. He's also got Rednecks on there, which I love. Mama Told Me Not to Come. There's a live version of Feels Like Home, which is really cool.
Nice.
And I'm very excited to get that record. It just, like so much of our show, right, is focused on Christian music from the 90s and 2000s. And there's a huge selection of that on Collide Records. But I just kind of wanted to highlight like some of the other stuff.
That's
like
not
there's
all, folks.
Yeah.
There's more.
Yeah. If you're at all interested in Randy Newman, or if you just know him because of You've Got a Friend in Me or Short People, his discography, like he's an incredible songwriter, and you should definitely check out this album. I think it's curated very well. The packaging looks great. And if you want to get that or anything else at colliderecords.com, if you type in our promo code, our very own promo code, Church Jams Now, at checkout, guess what?
What?
You'll get 20% off. I tried to think of something funny, but I couldn't. You'll get 20% off your purchase of anything at colliderecords.com.
Wow.
And hey, guys.
Hey. What?
You've got a friend in me.
I knew it. I was like,
Thanks,
you'll get
buddy.
20% off and a friend in us.
And a friend in me.
To Infinity and Randy Newman.
What is that from?
We said it
make that
earlier.
up,
An
TJ?
obscure film
That's
that
cool.
you've never
I like
seen.
that.
Yeah,
Thank
to
you.
Infinity.
Fully
Should we
original.
use that as a new tagline for the show?
Sign
Ooh,
off. Yeah.
Church
yes.
James now, to Infinity.
To Infinity.
And what did you say?
And Randy
forever?
Newman. And Randy Newman.
Yeah.
I think we can
All right.
worship that. Yeah.
Yeah. Back to Randy Newman Jams now.
Guys, I come bearing great news.
What is it?
I'm happy to report we have a brand new review on iTunes. Is it called iTunes
No
anymore?
way.
Apple Podcasts, I guess, technically.
Correct.
X. I think they call it X.
Yeah,
Oh, wait.
that's the one.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's it.
I don't know.
Yeah, leave your reviews there
But
too, please.
wherever it is, what does it say, Josh? I'm on the edge of my seat.
Okay, well, I want you to guess. Between 1 and 5, guess how many stars it is.
1 and
2.5.
I'm going to go
I don't think there's
with
any halves.
4.75.
That does round up. Okay. TJ, did you guess 2.5?
Do you have a counter? TJ?
Yeah.
2.5.
2.5. Okay.
2.5. All right, I'm going to
just
say
gonna round those up.
4.86.
Okay, those are good. I'm going to round
Ooh.
those up to 3 and 5. Kylan, you were correct.
Okay.
TJ, you were so close. You were almost there.
Nice.
So close,
Oh,
TJ.
thanks, man.
We'll get him next
So
time.
close.
But we have a new 5-star review from N. Gilliand 005. The title of this review, if I may read this, is
Please.
Love This with 3 S's.
Ooh, are they a
3
snake?
S's.
I don't know.
Can you
Nice.
read the rest of
Snake.
the review like a snake? Please do a dramatic
Yes.
reading of this
I
review
insist.
like a snake.
Do not want to even attempt that, but I appreciate the confidence you have in my snake-like abilities.
Of course.
Yes. And Gilliand 005 writes, This podcast love this. This podcast is for such a specific group of people, and it is the perfect, in all caps, one for that group of people. Keep it up with 3 P's as well. Up.
Up, up, up.
And I think that really sums up our show, you know? It's a
Yeah.
very specific group of people.
For a very
But for
specific
the
group of people.
the perfect one for that group of
Yep.
people, that's a pretty high compliment.
Yeah,
So
I
thank
love
you.
that.
Yeah.
And Gillian 005.
Thank you so much.
So much. Say we went into this show when we decided to start doing this crazy nonsense with that exact expectation and hope
Right.
that it would find its audience of wonderful weirdos out there like us that just think this stuff is interesting to talk about. So thank you
For sure.
so much. We're glad we found you. We're glad you found
Yeah.
us, however it happened. And thanks for letting us know that you enjoy it. That's really cool.
That is incredible. And if you want Josh to read more of your reviews like a snake, please give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you mention specifically
and in the review,
if you mention something
Yes.
about Josh reading it like a snake,
Reading it
like
like a
then he
snake.
has to.
I'll
It's-
have
that's
to.
legally
I
binding.
can't get
Legally
out of that.
obligated.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how that works.
All
Yep.
right, let's get back to the show. Peace out, Monfreres. Welcome back to Church James Now. I hope you enjoyed those ads as much as we enjoyed making them. We, of course, are talking about the 1976 album In Another Land by Mr. Larry Norman. But we're talking about the alternate track list.
Mm-hmm.
88.
The
TJ's
88.
birthday
Special
track
edition
list.
cassette.
Yeah.
I just want to mention, there's, for Larry being such a pioneer in music, there's a lot of rough artwork out there.
Yeah.
Specifically, I do want to call it, there's a lot we could talk about there. But the 88 cassette track list has like the original cover of Larry. And then like right next to it is like a current picture of like 88 Larry or something, which makes no sense. And I was like, who was doing this?
I don't know.
That was like,
I don't know.
sure,
It's like he
print it.
wanted to remind everybody, like, remember when I did this awesome
Right.
thing? Remember this album?
But I also want a picture of
I'm
current
still
me
here.
on there right next to it. Yeah.
Okay, before we get into it, once again, I do want to briefly mention we're going to list this track list that we're talking about. It's not the one on Spotify. We're going to list it in the show notes. And if you want to go to larrynorman.bandcamp.com, like we mentioned before, you may have to babysit your listen a little bit. But we here at Church James Now think that it's worth it. So
Yep.
Or do we?
True
We'll see.
Sham's approval.
Or
I don't
do
know.
we?
We at least thought
Yeah,
it was
who
worth doing the
knows?
episode
Yes.
this
Yes.
way.
Yes, exactly. So if you want to follow along for the sake of discussion, go ahead and do that. Do we want to just get right into it?
Let's go.
Cool.
I'm tuned up and ready to go.
All right. Well, let's
Nice,
start
Josh.
with track number 1, Tuning Up.
So I like that we're getting a little bit of the behind the curtain kind of fun energy, like the how the sausage gets made part of the album, right? I think it's a cool way to start things.
For sure.
And it feels like a fun way for Larry to be like, yeah, guys, this ain't my first rodeo. I've got an orchestra here.
Right.
And it's
right.
pretty cool. It's a little bit of a flex, but it's like a fun flex. And it's, I've mentioned this on previous episodes, but getting to be let in on the secret of like how an album gets made, getting to see those snippets and, fun little sketches and things like that. Of what it was like for the artist to be in the room working on the thing.
Right.
That like it endears me to the artist. It always really kind of makes me lean in. So
Well, for me, it's
I
like
love
a
this.
real
It's just
like
a little
it's like a real like live theater moment, right? Like you walk in, the lights are still
Yes.
on, everyone in the orchestra is still like tuning. I feel like it's a really good shorthand for like you're about to get a theatrical experience, right? Like a full senses
performance
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh, what do you
Absolutely.
think? How do you feel about tuning up?
I have so many notes, guys. So many notes. No, I don't have a lot of notes on this one. I have all my notes, I will say, are on the regular version.
Mine
so
too.
I'll be switching back and forth. But I don't really have much to
Same.
say other than it's fine as an intro track. I enjoy it.
It's good.
I
It's not
especially love.
too long.
Yeah, I don't want to
Yeah,
spoil it, but I
exactly.
love setting it up as like, oh, here's this, we got an orchestra, we're tuning up here, and then just going into like a blues rock song. Like that's a fun transition
Yes.
for me. It's like a
Yes.
fun joke.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. The genre flip is I think I don't know. I want to give him credit as I want to believe that he was winking at his audience when he did that
I would imagine
with
he
this
is.
sequence. And
sure.
I think it's awesome. So
For sure. All right, guys, let's move on to track number 2, The Rock That Doesn't Roll.
This is new territory for Larry, I think.
Oh,
yeah, totally. Yeah, he
So-
loves the rock and the rolling and the stone, the rolling stone,
Yeah.
circling the drain on that.
Oh, I was going to say,
Lyrical
it's not as
content.
clever as we've seen Larry be compared to Jesus is the Rock and He Rolled My Blues Away
Right.
on
Yes.
Why Should the Devil Have All the Good Music. That's so good. But after So Long Ago the Garden, it does feel like a welcome return, in a
Yes.
course correction to be like, okay, we're kind of getting back to some basics of just some rock with some gospel lyrics, and
For sure.
he's kind of like, it's his bread and butter, but it works.
Yeah.
I'm kind of torn. I'm like, sometimes I feel like it's a retread, but then other times I feel exactly what you're saying, Josh, that I'm like, oh, he's back. And that's great.
But I like it because there's another song on here on this record that I think you guys hit all the big touch points like rock and roll, Rolling Stones, things like that. I got a lot of, specifically on what was his first name? On Mr. Lynn's guitar, John. On John Lynn's guitar, it's super Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Yes.
Like it's very
Well, Skynyrd
so
vibes.
much so that like after I listened to this song, I just stopped and listened to Lynyrd Skynyrd, like 3 Lynyrd Skynyrd albums in a row. Because like even his solos and stuff, it's very much like because Skynyrd has like a pretty distinctive Southern rock lead guitar style,
Right.
and this feels very much in line with that.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like obviously there's a lot of people that were had different sounds because people were doing rock music by then. But I mean, you're still pre-era of like overdrive and distortion pedals, so
Right.
you're just getting all that
Right.
from like your
Yeah.
amps. I mean, like I feel like
Which is
it's going to be
pretty cool.
easier to sound like Skynyrd because you don't have as many like tonal palettes that you can throw on because
to pull from.
you only have so
That's
many
true.
different amps that you can just crank up, and then that's what it's going to sound like.
Right.
So
And
That's
you're
the
not
tone,
playing
right.
in open G tuning like Keith
Yeah.
Richards, right?
Keith
Like that's
Richards.
like
Keith.
really the
Yeah.
big thing.
Hmm.
But
think
it's
about
got
that,
this kind
but
of
yeah,
like it's
makes
got
a lot
this
of sense.
real like there's like almost like there are times when there are like two lead lines that are sometimes in sync and then sometimes playing different things, and it's kind of like a little frenetic. I loved it. Oh, it's so good. This might be my favorite.
Also, I love
song.
this section
don't
we're
know.
hearing right now. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. This section right here where he repeats the rock that doesn't, and then it goes down to like the kind of primarily like drum and bass and vocal section, which was like a welcome change because it could have gotten really tired, I think,
Right.
at a certain point. Like
Yeah.
if it's already feeling like a retread lyrically for Larry, and I get that it's a catchy hook, that it's a great chorus, but it's like, don't do it to death, right? And so
Yeah.
that little bit of a change where he repeats the rock that doesn't, and then they drop it down to kind of a quieter, like rhythmic based section that builds some tension. I just wanted to point that out as a really strong section of the song that drew me in as I was being like, okay, I get it. He's the rock
Yeah.
that
yeah,
doesn't roll.
he knows when he's like,
Then
okay,
that
time
drew
to
me
change things up here. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is, I'm pretty sure I didn't look at the newer track list, but I think this is the longest song on the record
Yeah.
at only 3:36. So
Wow.
that's what you're getting in for here. Yeah,
Hey.
short
Unless
songs.
you count the
Nice.
Deja Vu medley
That's true.
as one.
I do count it as one.
I think
so,
we should.
But yeah, we'll talk about it when we get
Of
there.
new
But
songs,
sure.
we'll say.
Yeah.
yes. So Kyle, you said this might be your favorite.
I think so. I don't know.
I mean,
didn't,
it's pretty great.
Okay.
I had a guess for your favorite, but it wasn't this one.
This was my favorite on the original track list that I listened to.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
And
Yep.
I haven't determined a favorite based on the track list that we're currently discussing.
Okay.
So I
we'll
don't
maybe
fully
find
know.
out
I'm
We'll get
coming
to
in.
find out in real time.
Yeah,
here.
for
on
sure.
the
Everyone will
road.
get to find out together, even Kylan.
That's right.
That's
And that's
awesome.
not the most me thing on this podcast. Like, it's surprising it's taken this long for this to be this kind of thing on the show. Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
that's true.
sir.
So I wanted to mention before we move on that it's also kind of an interesting choice that by the fourth line in the first actual song on the album,
Mm-hmm.
the title of the album gets mentioned.
Yep.
It's the fourth line, so
Yep.
it's pretty quick in the the overall lyrics that we're getting. Like he's introducing that idea quickly of being in another land, and it's a positive thing, being blind, and then a friend coming and taking you by the hand, leading you to his kingdom, and being in another land. And so right there, we're already like in concept land. We're already like getting the trilogy feel. We're entering this idea of like, okay, we're in the future. We're moving in that direction.
For sure.
So I think it's effective. I like it. It felt a little hokey the first time I listened to it, to be honest. But the more time that I've spent in this album and specifically with this track list, the more I like it and I appreciate it and I kind of see what he's doing.
Well, and I
So,
think too, yeah,
that was worth
I think like this is ostensibly the first track of the record. Like as of
Right.
now, the only difference is the tuning up, right? So this seems like pretty intentional that this was like the first track,
Right.
And I think it does a really good job of it does a lot of things really well. All the things we talked about, like it establishes the concept, it names the album, it harkens back to like a previous sound.
To the halcyon
Yeah,
days
what people know
Yeah.
Larry for. Yep.
of only
But I
visiting.
don't
Yeah.
think John Lynn played on those. I think this is the first record he did with Larry.
I believe so.
Yeah. And I think
Okay,
you can tell,
interesting.
like it's because the guitar work is
Yeah.
way
So
more
good.
intricate. It's insane
Yeah, it's got so
Especially-
much personality.
Bravo, John.
compared to the
And
previous
not
two.
to take away, the drummer is going for it on this song too.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
there's sweet bass all over the place.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Everybody showed
the
up.
instrumentation is great.
Who was on the
this
bass?
song and
T-Bone. That's what I read on
Yeah,
Discogs.
T-Bone. Yep. Yep. I did just want to mention, I really do like the line, "Wowie zowie, will he save my soul?
Oh, yeah.
He's the rock that doesn't roll." It's so
Wowie
good.
zowie. More songs should use the phrase wowie zowie.
I'm going to start using it on this show all the time. Wowie zowie. This is your favorite song, Kylan?
I dare you to drop that into our next big interview. Like if we get Peter Furler on the show,
big important point, and I'm just like, wow, he's out.
Yes, just sneak it in, man.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I'll just act like it's not.
Question for Kylan is: do we think that Pavement was just a big Larry Norman fan, and that's why they Pavement?
Oh yeah,
they named their third album "Wowie Zowie."
Yeah. 100%.
Do we think it came from this moment?
I'm sure Pavement played a show in the Pixies, and Frank Black was like, hold on, you got to check this shit out.
Let me tell you about Larry Norman.
Okay. That's not outside the realm of
for sure. For sure. I love that headcanon.
I like it. I like this headcanon. Yeah, that's great.
I did have a slight misheard lyric, and I don't know if this is it's yes. Even barely, but I'm like, is this a big deal? Because I heard where he says, "Now my mind is blown, my head is grown, a solid rock ain't a rolling stone." Which I like. I like using that of the rock and roll.
Yeah,
that's fun.
nice.
But I heard my solid rock originally, and then I'm like, oh, I like my better. But I'm like, it's really just the same thing. So, but then he says, "Wowie zowie, well the cat's got soul. He's the rock that doesn't roll." So I mean, hey, can't be mad about that. Wowie zowie.
Brought it
back. All right, moving on to track number 3. I Love You.
No. Are we covering this song?
No? What?
No,
Top
it's conspicuously absent.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I wish I would have said something earlier. I have TJ's, I have that track list pulled up, but I was looking at my notes instead. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, good, because that song
We might as well talk about it. I mean, should we just talk about it?
I guess,
if we're covering
yeah.
The alternative
I don't,
list?
it's not a good song.
Okay,
Ouch.
yeah. Here's my thing. Okay, so I Love You is basically the second song on the sort of commercial official version of the album, right? So I don't understand why, other than whatever label executive made that decision doesn't understand sequencing and doesn't understand music and doesn't understand art. And I'm coming on hot, I know, but I just felt like it was such a bad choice. It is egregious. I don't understand it because it's not Larry's song.
Yeah.
And on an album like this that is the third in a trilogy, that is the moment where Larry's finally getting some attention and people are starting to understand oh, this guy's good and he's got good songs and he's a great musician and a great performer and a thinker, and okay, he can represent the Christian world but also have one foot in the modern rock zeitgeist. Then they wanted to put Randy Stonehill's song as the second track on this album.
Well, I think it was
bonkers.
Yeah, I think it was a.
No offense to Randy.
I think it was a big misunderstanding of Larry's appeal, and it feels like such an attempt to have a second single right away.
Yes,
but it's just too many.
It's so tone deaf.
Well, this is
too
for all
many
all the Christians will like this song,
right?
For sure.
Yeah,
and I get what the song's doing, but I don't get what the song is doing as track 2 on this album, or frankly on this album at all. And
songsoflarrynorman.com has some great reasoning for it, TJ.
Yes, thank you, Josh. Take us there.
It says, from songsoflarrynorman.com, it says that the song was not intended for inclusion on In Another Land, obviously, and was substituted in after the record company refused to release some of the intended songs. Larry added this song largely just to make the play lengths on both sides of the cassette almost equal.
So we talked about
so
format.
It's a pretty late minute edition, just
sure. My friend,
I'll throw my buddy Randy a bone.
Yeah, exactly.
He rewrote a lot of the lyrics apparently for the verses and stuff.
Which also doesn't make sense. It's either play the song as it is or write another song that is your own
Yeah,
song
yeah,
that
yeah.
is that runtime.
But
Find the
hey,
runtime you need. Write your own
if
song.
it was that last minute and potentially under duress, I could see that just
Yeah, just like
being
Randy,
like,
can I use your song, buddy?
yeah. Or, I mean,
Yeah.
Randy was probably in the studio too, being like, yeah, sure,
Oh
you know,
yeah, totally. Which is sweet. Like I like
yeah,
that part of it. That's like their friendship and him being like, "Hey, this song is cool. I'd love to put it on the album." So I'm not trying to like throw shade at that at all or
yeah,
the song even, but it's just like it does not fit. It does not work in the context of this concept.
right,
And I'm
Yes.
just
for sure,
my mind is blown as to how it
yeah,
became track two on the official version of this. And that's why I was so stoked when I found the
yeah.
88
Yes, for sure. That is not even
track
on
list
there.
that it is conspicuously absent, and I love it.
Yeah. So let's move on to the real track number 3,
Yeah.
top
Yes.
40
Get out of
survey.
here.
You ain't the crying oh, the times they are changing.
Okay, I love this concept.
Hmm.
I think 2.5 minutes is too long.
It's a little long. Yep.
And
It
I
is.
think having it right after the first like real song
Yes.
on the record
No,
feels
this
a
is
little
exactly
too soon.
this is exactly what I complained about on the Mute Math album, because you have the intro, then you have the first song, and then you have another like instrumental transition song. I'm like,
Yeah.
we just got the album started. Now we're like taking it down.
Yeah.
So
But
I'm torn because it transitions super well, and I do like how it does kind of set a tone for the record and like harken back to like kind of the Reader's Digest current events that were happening of only visiting this planet.
yeah, exactly.
So I do
Yes.
like that about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
yeah, I think TJ, I know for a fact you have a lot of thoughts about this. So I'm just going to get out on my agreement with Josh.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it just, to me, it feels a little too long, and the
Yeah, I
placement
agree.
just felt a little weird for how like honestly, it kind of would have been cool if he broke this up into thirds and kind of scattered those throughout the
Yeah.
record. That would have been
That would
like
be cool.
really cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But yeah, I do love the concept of like switching between the channels and having all of the different samples of like popular songs and current news events and stuff. Yeah, it was really cool.
Right.
All right, TJ, go off.
Okay.
King.
So I do, thank you. I do agree with y'all's
Birthday king.
assessment that it's a
Birthday
weird.
king.
Thank you. Yeah, happy birthday to me. I agree with your assessment that it's a weird place and that it's too long. However, I kind of think it needs to be where it is. I do think it could be shortened, and I like your idea, Kylan, of like splitting it up into segments, especially if the components of the weird transition track that it is could be split in ways that would be thematically appropriate over the
Right.
course of the album.
Yeah.
So I could see that working. But the reason I like it as is, not to say it's perfect, because yeah, I think it's a little lengthy, but the reason I like it is because I think for its time, it was pretty ahead of the curve in a lot of ways, especially in the Christian music realm,
Right.
trying to connect a grandiose concept that's like a little sci-fi and a little spiritual to the here and now and to like the political landscape and the kind of adding some social commentary to things in addition to placing himself among what he perceived as his peers and friends. And we'll touch on that later, right?
Yeah.
So he's placing himself. He's saying, "All right, here's the rock that doesn't roll, and I want to see myself as somebody who could get radio play, and you could turn the dial, and
Right.
on a station that's getting just as many listeners,
Yeah.
you could hear Presley, you could hear Dylan, you could hear Beatles, you could hear Hendrix, Rolling Stones." Where it gets weird for me, so I like that. I think that's really sweet. And he's like saying like, "Hey, I'm not, I know I'm not these guys, but like I see what they're doing. He like admires them, I think, and he's like, it's a send up a little bit, and he's
Right.
also trying to place himself with them, which is cool. Where it gets a little weird for me is like the My Fellow
Right.
Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, like
But-
where it starts to like kind of wander into the JFK stuff.
Right. And then the
So
RFK
I would
too,
say
right?
he could,
Wasn't
and
I
RFK,
believe
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He could, I feel like he could cut all of that, but what I think is really, really crucial is what's his name? The John Glenn, the astronaut that has
Yeah,
the
yeah.
quote about the view, the view is tremendous, the
Mhm.
capsule's turning around, blah blah blah. Because that connects the dots
Yeah.
of like
Yep.
time and place, past, present, future, the space race, and going to another land, being on another planet, the album art with him standing there and you can see the earth in the background. Like John Glenn,
Yeah.
Larry is saying, I'm the astronaut in the capsule in the
Right.
future. I'm on the spaceship. I'm headed to another land.
Yeah.
And so for me, conceptually, it really like ties things together quite a bit.
Right.
It's a reach. It's a little heady and weird and out there, but like for me as a listener, like when I found this version and I heard that, I was like, okay.
No, it was
I
it
get
honestly was this moment where I texted you guys. I was like, yeah, this sequencing like totally changes the vibe of the entire record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then especially to have the next track follow it. It's just,
For
to
sure.
me, it's
Yeah.
like,
For sure. The transition
that is
into the
the
next
objectively
track.
correct way
Yeah.
for this to happen.
Totally.
But it's a cool swing. It's a big swing. It's a cool swing. It's long. I agree.
Yeah.
So I'm not defending it completely, but I do think those components
Yeah.
that I mentioned are like really
For
sure.
crucial, like placing himself
Well, no.
in his
I think that's a
peer- or
really
his
good
artistic
read on that,
peers,
TJ, of like
and
putting
then the
himself.
astronaut thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, on the first record, he said they went to the moon, brought back rocks. Must be nice rocks. Now he's bringing back the rocks.
That's right.
Exactly,
the
Josh.
rock that doesn't roll.
doesn't
There
roll.
we go. Tie it all together. All right, we're done. Shut it down. Okay, I just want to play a little bit just so we have it, a little bit of the end
Yes, please.
of this because it transitions
That
perfectly.
transition's really nice. Yeah.
On to track number 4, UFO.
He's an unidentified flying object. You will see him in the air. He's an unidentified flying object, and you will drop your hands and stare.
I also think it's really crucial that they chose to put, that Larry, I guess, chose to put a very gentle, tender song after Top 40 Survey
Right.
because it's
And especially with
chaos
that,
and
yeah,
it's
all the
intense.
And,
And we
transitions
needed
into
that
like
breath.
beacon sound and then into
Yes.
this.
Into a song about a UFO.
Yeah. I would be remiss if I didn't bring up TJ's appearance on my other podcast, In Defense of Kesha.
I wondered if you would talk about this.
I have to a little bit. So Josh, you haven't heard it, but
It hasn't come out yet.
The song we picked for TJ was a song called Spaceship. That
Yeah.
has some similar themes to this song.
It really does.
Just
How
about
Larry
about,
and Kesha were on the same
about
page.
death and comparing it. And well, the funny thing is on that episode too, we talked about it's like, yeah, I don't know if anyone else has really like talked about death and moving on in this way. And then
In this way.
like
And
4
here we
days
are.
later, it's like, oh well, fuck, Larry Norman. Of course he did. Like,
Of course he did. If it was gonna be somebody,
should have known.
it had to be him.
Should have known. Yeah. But
Yeah. This song's crazy. It's very
Yeah.
cool.
yeah, I really. So this is another one that, like, coming after "I Love You," I didn't like it. Coming after Top
Exactly,
40
Kylan.
Survey, I was like,
Exactly.
13, baby.
I was like, oh, this song is so
Get it.
good. It's like it's
Great.
so good.
Yes. Yes.
No,
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Like, I'm so glad we're covering this album this way because I
Me
think
too.
that we have a unique opportunity to talk about artistic vision and how it's important to trust artists'
your artists.
visions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to resequence the tracks. You don't need to make them a commercial success. You don't need to make them a pop icon or whatever. Like, let them do what they do. And I think
Yeah.
Larry innately knew that about himself. And I don't know what happened along the way. Obviously, we have not enough context to know.
Right.
But I'm just so thrilled that this version exists, and it proves that you can trust your artists.
That's true.
Because the song works, man.
It really
I don't
does.
know.
Within this
It did
context,
not.
it's
But
perfect.
It does
It's
now.
perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh,
no,
what
I really
were you
liked
gonna
it
say?
before. Oh, well, I was just gonna say, I love how, like, I don't know, it's such an effective use of. It's like you said, TJ, it comes in real soft. It's almost kind of minimal. It's like mainly just acoustic, and then you get but getting the UFO thing, like you get the swishy kind of vocal effects and the harmonies, like they're hard panned, and
Is
then
there a
how
phaser
it kind of like
on the vocal at a certain point?
think
there's like a little
so.
brief period where
Something,
there's
yeah.
like a phaser
Yeah.
on the vocal.
Yeah, there's some modulation happening, and then how it kind of like falls off at the end. Like it's like just
Yes, the
enough production
detuning.
to kind of like to one help keep the song interesting, but also to kind of like buoy the theme that Larry's talking about in the lyrics of everything. And I do like it's very fun. It feels very 70s of comparing Jesus's like second coming return as a UFO, which I was like, he's not technically wrong, but like, you wouldn't be like, oh, but it makes it funny and feels very 70s to do as well.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Well, that also
songs
brings
with Larry
up-
Norman.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, what are you saying?
Well, that ties into, I think, my favorite lyric on the entire record is, if there's life on other planets, then I'm sure that he must know, and he's been there once already and has died to save their souls. That's, like the weirdo in me, I'm just like, hell yes,
Kylan,
Larry Norman.
The kid in me, actually me as a kid, this is not like just a imaginary thing. This is real. When I first learned about aliens, one of my first thoughts was like, do they know Jesus?
Right.
And like,
And
do
so-
they have souls? And like,
Yeah.
I mean,
And so like
Like-
because then for me growing up, that was like the whole thing of hearing like, well, no, there's not, like, because Jesus was on earth. And so like the fact that he's like directly addressing that, and specifically
like-
Josh, like you were talking about, like in the 70s, like when, you know,
that was big.
all of the UFO stuff had kind of happened relatively recently. Yeah,
he's finding a way to like challenge us and like make us realize like, oh, we're not the center of the universe.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
Oh, I
Which
love
is
it.
great.
I
It's
love it.
effective.
It's so good.
And he's working in, he's sneakily working in the stone imagery again. But I think it actually works again on this level because it's a little new, it's a little different. The idea of him rolling away your stone, the fact that it's like your burden, it's not just like this kind of idea of like, oh, he rolled the stone away for himself way off in, you know, thousands of years ago when he rose from the dead or whatever. It's like he's coming to roll away whatever your burden is and like help you kind of transcend that and move beyond that. So I like that lyricism. That moment there was really nice. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like a weird sci-fi Joni Mitchell song.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Good.
Yep. Songs of Larry Norman also mentioned how it was pre-Star Wars, of course, which is a year before.
Right.
What is it? What is the first Star Wars? I can't think.
A New Hope?
A New Hope.
A New Hope.
I could
Oh
not
my
think. I
God,
said
okay.
A Lost Hope.
Don't worry. I'll edit
but
this
then-
to make you seem like not a
Thank
dumbass.
you. Yeah, for sure. Thank you. What is Star Wars?
What is
but
the
it
Star
does
Wars?
say, and I don't know if Kylan, if you can concur with this or not, but it says the song which ended ironically using almost the exact same 5-note theme used by the spaceship in the movie Close Encounters, which is kind of cool.
Wow.
Because that was
I didn't even track that, but yeah.
Or was that 78 or that was between?
No,
it was Close Encounters.
74?
No, it was post Jaws, wasn't it?
No, it was 77. It was also
Wow.
77.
Okay, so right around this time as well.
Yeah, I love his falsetto there. Like, there's some great moments of Larry's like gentle kind of head voice on this album. I think
There's one
I'm
time
really
on this
grateful
record
that
that
he
I
went for that.
absolutely hate it. but
Really?
oh,
I wonder where it could
oh,
be.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so curious.
Oh, I know.
But it's very effective on this song.
Mhm.
Dang, this
Yes,
might be my
great
favorite song. I don't know.
I think it's up there for me. It's really
Yeah.
good.
I want to say this is the moment where I was like, oh, I think Larry's like super into the end times. Like
Oh,
this
yeah.
moment.
This is when.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was like, okay. Like
I
he's
feel
an
like we've got
apocalypticist,
sprinklings of
I
it
think.
a lot on the last two albums.
Yeah.
But he's
Yeah,
really
somehow
leaning into it
each
here.
time it showed up on those other albums, it was like, oh yeah, right, I get it, because like 70s and this and that,
Rapture,
and like
whatever. Yeah.
Right.
yeah, but
All
like
about the
this
Rapture.
album, it's like heavy handed.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
But it's cool as like a concept album still. That's the thing, is I'm trying to separate
Yes.
my sort of like personal leanings toward his theology or his, approach to sharing his spirituality through, song and songwriting, and trying to
Right.
separate it out with like he's an artist and he's creating a story and a context and a setting. And on that level, it's like I think it works. So
Yeah.
I can still sort of really respect and admire what he's doing if I can kind of divorce those sides of me
For sure.
with
For sure.
this kind of stuff. So
Which I've noticed, TJ, have you noticed this on the show? From like when we started and even back into like the reboot of the show, you and I feel like, I think we've been much better at doing that. And
Yeah,
I
I agree.
talked about this on an episode recently. I can't remember which one, but yeah, I think we've done a much better job of just sort of trying to intellectually meet the artist where they are. And I think probably a lot of that has to do with like, as we get older, as we become further separated from potentially specific events, I feel like we've let a little more trauma, a little more anger go and are able to sort of like come at this a little more objectively where the artist intended it to come. So,
and for me, like, I don't want to speak for you, Colin, but certainly for me, it's like I've found ways to lean into the parts of myself where I identify as a mystic. Like I can
Right.
lean into my mysticism as a way to connect to different Christian themes and actually embrace it and really love it and see what's happening there as entirely valid and meaningful and inspiring.
For sure.
And that has taken a little bit of time and it's been a process,
Yeah.
but it's been cool to be a part of
So,
that and
yeah.
to get to let that open me up a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I feel like
yeah,
the
I'm
show
glad
has
you brought
been
that up.
like
That's cool.
like sneaky religious trauma therapy for both of us
Sneaky
in
therapy.
in a specific
And
way.
I guess
fun
Josh
along the
is our
way.
Yeah.
sort of therapist
And
because
Josh has just been there all along. He's like, yeah, no, I'm good with all of this.
Come hang out over
I'm
here.
good.
guys.
We're
It's
good.
fun.
All right,
Larry's great.
guys. Let's move on to the next track. I've searched all around.
I searched all around for those UFOs, guys.
That's right.
Hard to find.
Where are they?
Darkness can't hide much longer.
I like this song.
We're getting funky on this one, man.
Yeah.
It is. It's some real.
soul.
Okay, I've got a couple notes. It's just a fun, upbeat pop song. Love the piano on it. That dun 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 dun.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the lyrics on this one too.
Yeah.
But I had a really interesting thought, specifically when this song came on, because I was like pretty all in on the Leonard Skinner of it all on The Rock That Doesn't Roll.
Right. Right.
And this one, yeah, it's like a little bit of funk, but then when the vocals come in and you have all these vocal harmonies and even some of his
Yes.
delivery. So I did a little bit more research, and by the time this album was being recorded, which I'm guessing was probably 75.
74, 75 probably, yeah.
Yeah. Queen, Queen 2, and Sheer Heart Attack had all come out.
Oh wow.
And I get a lot of Queen vibes
Yeah,
on this.
for sure. It's like kind of Sly and the Family Stone by way of Queen,
Right.
almost.
And there are a couple moments on this record that it feels like, yeah, it's there are times when he's trying to be maybe a little like trailblazy, but specifically within the context of quote unquote Christian music. And I think by bringing in these influences, these contemporary influences, and it reminded me so much of the conversation we had about DC Talk on Jesus Freak. Of how much I feel like they kind of did a similar thing. And I don't know if it's just because we're maybe an extra generation removed, but it feels more effective with Larry Norman for me specifically.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But
I love that you're bringing that up because I've always wondered why it was harder for me to like buy into those moments in like DC Talk's discography, for example. It's a great like kind of comparison. And yeah, I don't know why. I like your theory of like it being a generation removed, and so it feels more, there's more mystique around
so much
it. Almost
extra time with Queen than we have with Nirvana.
Well,
right,
and it's also like and
yes,
all those artists that he's drawing from are like, by the time we're listening to him, well-established classic artists.
Yeah, exactly.
Too. So that helps, I think.
But I think he was.
Do you have the same experience with it, Josh?
I think he was
like,
kind of doing the same thing.
Does it hit you the same way, where you're like, it works?
Yeah, because it just feels like, well, and he's still like, I mean, he wasn't maybe like pioneering all this stuff, but I mean, he's still pretty like close to cutting edge. Like this is 76, so I'm like, he's in it with like, he's not pulling from stuff like 4 years later. Oh, let's make Jesus Freak sound very Nirvana. Like Nevermind's been out for 4 years, kind of thing. Whereas stuff is like coming out, and it feels like in the moment, and I think he's just like aware of like what's going on. And like I said, I feel it just feels pretty classic. Like if you're doing a song like this and like a rock that doesn't roll, I'm like, yeah, I mean, this feels like what everyone was doing in like the classic kind of sound. So it just seems like it works that way for me.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that it's sort of hitting us similarly in a good way. That like we see him using these ideas that his peers were using as well, but it's not. It doesn't feel derivative or like.
Well, so that was the thing. That was the conversation. The whole conversation I was having with myself, because like my initial like pedantic, douchey reaction to that was like, oh yeah, this is like what DC Talk was doing, but good. So then I started to like, I had to start examining like, well, why do I think this is good where I didn't think DC Talk was? And once again, I think I go back to the generation removed, because like these were all
that makes
like
a lot of sense.
Pretty contemporary influences, just like the exact same way that they had done it. And potentially, because
and I think we also get a little bit of also like just the development of music, whereas when DC Talk is doing it in the 90s, it's maybe a little more fad chasing, because it's like music has been around for so long. It's like doing a specific style. In the 70s, it's still very much just developing, like, oh, we're like rock is still a pretty brand new thing, and we're adding all these different shades in here, whereas I don't know what, almost 20 years later, you've got grunge, you've got hair metal, you got all these different kinds of things that you can kind of pick from, whereas it feels like this is, we're all discovering this together in the 70s kind of thing.
You might say they're still feeling like they're exploring space or going into another land.
They're searching all around
that
together,
land is still like unknown territory.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I like that. I will say the wisdom tooth line was one of those that made me chuckle, and like I was like, that's good. But then the more and more I hear it, the more it becomes one of those choruses that's like, actually, I don't know if it means that much, to be honest. And I went through a little bit of a roller coaster where I was like, oh, that's good, haha, to like, no, that's stupid, to, it's punny and fun, and I like it, even if it is a little airheaded and like,
Even if it doesn't
actually
have
there's
this
nothing under the
grandiose
surface.
meaning behind it. Yeah.
Yes, but that doesn't mean it's not effective. So I landed there where it's just
Yeah.
like it's a fun thing to sing, like because I thought about a lot of, the indie rock bands that I like that have choruses that are just like that seem like they're really thinky and like intellectual, but like I don't know, at the end of the day they might be just kind of clever lines,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean that they're not great lyrics
Yeah.
and that you can't sing along to it as a super strong chorus. That's very fun. And I think
And then
that's
at the same
where I
time, it
landed.
also like becomes its own new thing kind of as well.
Yeah,
So it's like, hey, I'm putting this
true.
out there. It doesn't, even if it doesn't have a big meaning behind it, it's like a new thing that I'm
Right.
saying, which
And
is
now
fun.
you can refer to Wisdom Tooth and be like, "Oh, the Larry
Yeah.
Norman song?" Yeah,
Yeah.
which
Opened
is
the mouth of
fun.
love and found a wisdom tooth. Yep.
Right.
With this song, I was feeling, and I was like, I hate to put Larry in like the Christian artist box, but when
Mhm.
he sings songs like this, it works so much better than when he's like heartbroken and pining for love on like a So Long Ago, where it's like much less Christian gospel
Yes.
oriented. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I hate to do it to you, Larry, but this is your lane and it works, man.
Yes.
Like,
No, you're exactly right. I was like really trying to on my first couple listens to the other version of the track list, I was scraping and scrounging every moment on that version that had this version of Larry, right? And
mhm.
like this track is on that other track list, but for some reason the way it was sequenced and some of the omissions and inclusions, just I found less of that Larry, but I found him
Mhm.
a lot more on this version. And to your point, Josh, it is his lane. He needs to just ride that lane. And not
Yep.
to say he can't have, a versatile artistic expression. Um, but
This
yeah,
is where he's at his peak.
heartbroken forlorn Larry is like a little harder to humor or connect with, maybe. Yeah, and I think this is where he's really, really in flow state. He's killing it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he can be
On this
funny
one.
and also like still serious, and he's like has like his
Yes.
message to his songs, so it works
Yep.
on kind of all the
Yeah,
levels.
It does.
totally. He's
All right.
threading the needle.
All right, guys. We got anything else for I searched all around?
I have to search all around to see what is next on this alternate track
Yeah.
list.
Guess what? It's
Yeah.
Righteous Rocker number
Be
3.
a righteous rocker or a holy roller. You can be most anything. You can be a child of the slum or a skid row bum, or you can be an earthly king. But without love, you ain't nothing. Without a slum.
I was very curious to hear what for this one, and then as we get into the next song of our deja vu moments of how these songs hit y'all, of kind of
Mhm.
recycling back from some other stuff
Right.
on albums.
Obviously,
But-
yeah. Reference to Righteous Rocker number 1, and then did So Long Ago the Garden have? No, that had Nightmare.
No, I'm guessing. Yeah, it did have. I'm guessing Righteous Rocker number 2. He had the hard rock version that got released
right.
later. I'm assuming that's the second version.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't this could be just way off, but I found there's Righteous Rocker number 2 on Lyric Genius, and there's the lyrics that are attached to Righteous Rocker number 2 are lyrics that are included in some version of the Righteous Rocker that's found on this album. But I can't for the life of me figure out where that falls on this track
Yeah.
list and where Righteous Rocker
Where-
3, how that deviates and is different. But obviously, stylistically, it's more kind of a vocal feature, and it's
Right.
this kind of down moment on the album, energy wise.
Can I give you? I have one singular note for Righteous Rocker number 3, and then
Let's
we can
hear
get
it.
into potentially more serious discussions. My one note was, "Oh my God, I love this."
Oh, good.
You were
Glad it was
into
a
it, huh?
positive one.
It's so good. It's so good.
Cool.
I
Right
like
on.
it as well.
I love those kind of like vocal harmonies. Like I I it just, it just speaks to my soul, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I think as someone that like
It's pretty
can't really
cool.
harmonize, like any opportunity I hear, and especially if it's like relatively short, of just like a powerhouse, just like, oh yeah, here's some sick ass vocal harmonies. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, thank you.
Sweet. Yeah. Give
I
it
will
to me.
take it, yes.
No, I think it's cool. I like that it's, you know, whether or not we understand where number two went or what that was. I like that it's this, you know, look back almost, and also stylistically, it's a move forward. It's an evolution of Larry's sound. Like he's a little more pensive, but he's still kind of big and like hopeful. Kind of
Mhm.
Yeah.
without love, like kind of centering back on that idea, focusing on love, like being the core message, I guess. And it's very simple. I like that it's a short, simple iteration of a familiar song. So
Yeah,
on
and
all
it's like
those
a good
levels, I think it
transition of
works.
like, hey, this is a signal that we're going to go into something here.
Yes, it does really work on that level too, as a moment to be like, we're gonna get a little like reflective on this album. And it's not just, a rock record, it's also like me looking back a little bit.
Tying it all together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Do we have anything else about this song?
No, haven't we? Did we already hear this one before? I don't know. I'm experiencing
Which one?
some.
Oh, are you? Are you? Wait.
yeah, I'm experiencing.
Are you experiencing a little? Man, I'll come up with a joke. We'll fix it in post.
I'll come up with a joke. We'll fix it in post.
Wait, what?
There it is again. But
There it is
I'm
again.
hearing it. It's a Deja Intendu situation. I'm
Yes.
hearing it. I'm not
yes.
seeing it.
Yes.
Do you guys remember that movie with
Keanu Reeves.
not Keanu Reeves? No. What's his face? What? Why? This is not a bit. What the fuck is his name?
Who?
Not Morgan
You've given me
Freeman.
nothing to
Denzel
go off of.
Washington. Oh my god.
More. It was
It was a Tony
don't
Scott
know.
film, Déjà
Lawrence
Vu.
Fishburne. You're thinking of The Matrix. As they say Deja Vu in there.
Did you guys ever see that movie?
What was it?
Déjà Vu.
think
It's
so.
literally called.
Oh,
That's the- oh my god. All right. So, TJ, just for clarification, are we gonna just do Déjà Vu the full
The full
version?
the full length version.
Okay, I
Yeah.
love that. I'm
Yep.
so ready for it.
I think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so moving on to the next track, Déjà Vu, but not the one that's on, not Déjà Vu parentheses of God is my father. We're doing Déjà Vu, the full length,
The real
Yeah.
deal.
clocking in
Yeah.
at 6:38. Here's Déjà Vu.
And you are my brother. Then why can't we bother to really reach out?
Which on the original release, both the songs were just listed under Deja Vu. Why Don't You Look Into Jesus wasn't listed separately. So it was all
Right.
couched under this one track, but they're broken
Yes.
up on streaming now.
Which I think is a mistake.
Yes. Agreed.
I do like that it is kind of, you're looking at just like the last two songs last two albums in the trilogy. You're playing a song from each of them.
Yeah.
And you're looking at one of God and one of God the Father and then Jesus, God the Son.
Yeah.
So I like that. But yes, otherwise, so I like that idea. But song-wise, I like including the full version way better.
The full
Yeah.
version of Why Don't You Look Into Jesus?
No, of Deja
Oh,
with
oh,
the.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I wish we'd all been
Yeah,
ready
yeah.
in there as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish you'd all been
That
ready.
version is beautiful.
Sleep in bed, she hears a noise and turns her head. He's gone. I wish we'd all been ready. Two men walk.
That was really surprising for me. That was a big shift in my perception of this record too. I was like, oh,
And I
okay,
think it's
this
just
is
nice
cool.
that there's a trilogy within a trilogy.
Right.
So there's just something really satisfying about that for me, and that's why this version is the objectively correct version, is because it has 3 songs couched into one medley, and it's just nice and neat inside a trilogy that is already in action. You're witnessing a small trilogy inside a larger trilogy. I think it's just perfect.
Yeah. And they flow into each other like really well.
Oh, so well.
Yes.
It's interesting to me though that because in some of the notes from Songs of Larry Norman, it was talking about how that Larry picked them as like he picked If God Is My Father is the key song from So Long Ago the Garden, followed by Why Don't You Look Into Jesus as the key song from Only Visiting This Planet. It's interesting what he viewed as one of the key songs from So Long Ago the Garden did not even make the official track list.
Right, yeah.
Of So Long Ago the Garden, which could have just been label issues, but
yeah, I think it speaks to the whole reason we're covering this album the way that we are. Like, trust the artist's vision. Like, clearly there was a breakdown in communication at some point on that one, but here he is coming back with that song as like a crux.
Right.
So, yeah, Josh, I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, because I wasn't aware until we did this alternate track list that Why Don't You Look Into Jesus, the new version is sort of couched within this, and I was a little disappointed by it, like as a standalone track. Which
it
I'm
feels
excited
like,
to
is it a
get
song or
into,
isn't
but-
it? You know?
Yeah, like, so I listened to the 2 versions back to back because initially I was like, oh, I think this is like really cool. This is going back to, it's like real Leonard Skinner, like just ripping guitars, but it feels a little messy. Compared to like the mix is a little messier, the instrumentation is a little messier. There are 1 or 2 points in the song where I can hear the drummer fucking up just a little bit, but in like a live music way, right? That's like, okay, this is cool.
Bring some like heart to it.
Yeah, but
humanity.
It didn't make sense to me being a standalone track. Beyond it felt like a little more of just kind of like a cash grab.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like originally on the LP, it was Déjà Vu was If God Is My Father and Why Don't You Look Into Jesus.
Right.
So,
but I think with all 3 of them, there's just something that feels more complete, and they contextualize each other, and they fit more. They make sense in the greater album context. Like, it's this nice middle moment that's like, we're going to look back, we're going to pause, we're going to have a little retroactive moment where we're like kind of reflecting, and then we're going to move forward. Like you said, Josh, about the different sides of the LP having names. This feels like the kind of midpoint where we have done the like being on Earth part, and now we're like pausing. It's almost like a purgatory or something, or like a liminal space of like we can see all times at once. We can see past, present, and future all together, and then we're gonna launch into the backside of the LP and like do the future. Finish the voyage basically.
I like that.
It's
like in Interstellar when they're going through the wormhole.
I knew you were gonna bring up
like,
Interstellar.
This is that part.
The second he started, I knew it. I was waiting. I
Oh my
almost
God.
pulled up a timer. I
Josh,
should have.
thank you.
I was waiting.
17 seconds until Josh brought up Interstellar after this prompt.
Merv.
Yeah, anything about
Merv!
like time
You know
travel
me- you
and
know me
seeing
too well.
multiple
And
like,
we're
liminal
talking about
spaces
space
and-
here.
Yeah.
Like, of course.
I
Like,
know.
you
I
got
was
to. Yeah.
anxiously waiting.
Don't let me go,
so-
Merv.
You know me too well.
Yeah.
You know
Why
me
don't
too
you
well.
look into Jesus, Merv?
I do just want to mention that I do like that they, from what I can tell, it sounds like they re-recorded all these, that they didn't just take like the original tapes and kind of like put them together. It sounds like they
I think
re-recorded all of them, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it sounds
Yeah.
like they let John Lynn just rip on
Oh
this.
yeah. Thank
Just
you.
go.
I'm glad we have the
Oh my
only
God.
visiting version, and we also get the
Yes,
John Lynn in
because
another land version.
I do think I prefer the only visiting version. But that feels a lot
pretty
more,
classic.
and I think I talked about it on that episode. It feels a lot more like Elton John
Yes. Yes.
And this just feels like a live, jammy, Skinner kind of thing.
Yeah.
I and not knowing that this was couched in a bunch of other sort of retrospective things, I was bummed that this didn't have the gonorrhea on Valentine's line.
Yeah.
But it makes more sense
again,
now. Like they're
the
kind of
censorship.
truncated.
It's just
You
taking
know?
a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it felt it felt a little slimier to me before. Like it felt a little more like record label. Well, hey, this song was a success when you were at this level. So now that you're at this level, let's like try that again. But obviously
Clean
you
it
can't
up a
say
little.
Clean it
gonorrhea.
up.
But
Yeah.
then the fact that they had like, Wish We'd All Been Ready, but like just like kind of a part of that song, it makes a little more sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely.
Dang, this might be my favorite
I
song.
like it.
The whole
I like those
Déjà
old songs
vu
on the new
suite.
record.
Well, no, I
Oh my
like
God.
how they all blend together, and then
No, it does
I feel
really
like
well.
going out of Wish We'd All Been Ready is really the first time that orchestra had kind of been brought in.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's like starting to kind of come back as a motif.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it works.
Ridiculous. Sweet. Do we have anything else about Déjà Vu?
Do we have anything else on Déjà Vu?
There it is again.
Listen,
Huh.
whatever you guys want to do, I'm down to do. I'm here. I'm just a servant, guys.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
You are our servant leader.
Let's move on to the next track. I'm just gonna keep saying the next track because I can't keep track of what number we're at. I am a
This is
servant.
Original track 7, on our new one, track 8.
I am a servant. I am listening for my name. I sit here waiting. I've been looking at the
Okay, this is the one that I mentioned earlier that his head voice drives me up the wall.
Oh, I knew it was.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. My only real
I
note
kind
is
of love it.
I do not like this.
That makes sense that you would, TJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
It's,
what about it speaks to you?
Well, I think I talked about was it the Dancers song
Yes.
on So Long Ago, where I really went to bat for Larry as like just a tender-hearted little sensitive feely boy, just a special little boy trying to sing his song. I think sometimes like we want to just kind of dispose of all the trappings of like the rock artist, or like, I don't know, the front man or the band. We want to get rid of it and just
I will
strip
say
things down and be raw and vulnerable. And so
Yeah.
I like that he's doing that. I guess that's what I'm getting at
Well,
here. Just like I think I said
Yeah.
that maybe on So Long Ago.
So, two things. So, this is not a Larry Norman original. This is a cover.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Yeah, it was first recorded
And it
by
feels like a cover, too.
Christian singer Honey Tree.
I
She
think
was like-
she covered him.
Really?
I think so. From what on Discogs, it had him listed as the songwriter on it.
Okay, well, the internet's wrong.
Huh.
Let me see. Hold on.
Go to the physical media.
That's right.
I think the only
That's
thing
right.
that wasn't was the I Love You Randy Stonehill stuff, because obviously he was borrowing from him for that song.
Oh. Well,
Her version.
She listed as
interestingly-
songwriter on your thing, Kyle?
no, it just has the publishing company, so I can't.
Yeah, I'll look it
Oh.
up. I'll look it up. I got it.
Hold on.
Her version did come out in 1975 though, so it did like predate
Right.
his album.
Okay,
coming
so
out.
did he
But it could've
write
just
it
been like,
and then she like?
yeah, it could have been like a Bruce Springsteen thing. Maybe gave it to her and was like, "Hey, you can put this because I don't know when my album's coming out or something." So
Interesting. Okay.
Wild.
let's see. Can I see?
to me,
Well, to
like,
go back to the whole like falsetto thing though, like as much as
Yeah.
it bugs me, like I believe him a lot more
right,
than I did on "I Love You."
right.
On the Honey Tree album, which is called Evergreen in 1975, all songs by Honey Tree except I Am Your Servant by Larry Norman.
Okay, well I'm
Well,
wrong.
there you
then.
go.
Fuck me. All right, bye.
No, you were close. You were close.
I quit.
You were close.
I quit.
You were right there.
It's fine. It's fine. It felt appropriate.
We're
to
just
bring
gonna
that
we're
back
just doing
after-
it for the listener. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
No,
Quit.
but I like that he is kind of stripping away all the trappings. I don't
Right.
necessarily love everything about the lyrics. A lot of it feels almost like AI formulated, almost, which I know is like
It could have
a
been an
frame
early
of
version.
reference.
Yeah.
I know it's a frame of reference that didn't exist then, but that's just like how it hits me is like if you were just like, hey, write a Larry Norman song, mostly piano and vocals.
Piano ballad.
Yeah, exactly. There's just kind of like a big it's what you were talking about earlier, Josh, about him being like brokenhearted and like the woe is me kind of thing. And like he doesn't stay there the whole time in this song. You know, at the end he there's a lift. He's like, okay, you can make me good and whole and repurpose me like I am your servant. But there's a lot lyrically that does feel a little uninspired. I like the part that's like to live is a privilege, to love is an art. But then like all the following rhymes of like art and like all this stuff is like baby's first rhyme.
A little too
kinda.
much. Yeah.
Right.
Introduce
thing.
something new here.
So
Which-
that's the AI formulated part.
But it makes sense if he was like kind of writing this for someone else and for specifically like another Christian group.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True.
That
He would
could
want
be
to stay in
used.
a very safe lane lyrically.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep. I
Yeah.
did find a note from songsoflarrynorman.com, which could be could be from a source or could just be someone, a very well-known fan's thoughts and impressions, whoever you are out there. But
Heads up,
they were
this
saying
episode
that
is not brought to you by songs of
it's not
LarryNorman.com
we're just
unless
stealing from
whoever made that
They're
site
not an
wants to
official
reach out
sponsor.
to us.
it. Yeah.
Unless
Then
they
we'll
want
do
to.
a
You
whole
could
Larry
be.
Norman series.
In which case we would love that.
But it says that Larry sings the lead in a very broken and submitted way, as though he is unable both to hit the notes or live the life.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it said,
exactly.
this was not Larry's attempt to perform the song, but to make it real beyond its existence as a structured song.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I like the idea.
That's
of
what
that.
I was getting at.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That
It
you
does
would
feel
key
very
in
real.
on that.
Yeah, that's what we were both
Yeah.
getting
I
at. It's like I feel like I
the
believe him.
emotion.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't like it
Completely.
as much to listen to.
Exactly.
But
I love it
I
in
do
theory,
get
though.
it.
Right.
I love
Yes.
conceptually.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
practice,
exactly. What
I
he's
don't love it.
expressing as a part of the narrative is very important, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's kind of a down moment. If this were a stage play, if this were like a rock opera, this is like the hero, the protagonist is down and out. They're still hopeful because at the end there's, like I said, there's some optimism, but there's definitely like a lowly kind of humble quality that almost dips into like overly woe is me,
Woe is me. Yep.
victimhood kind of thing. But
Which is kind of where he was
Yeah.
at on So Long Ago, The Garden. Did you guys talk about that while
Exactly.
I was gone?
we
Then-
did.
Okay. Cool. Well, I came to it honestly. I had to leave for a minute.
Yeah, you sure
listeners.
did. No, it just means we're 3 for 3. We
Yeah,
all
we're all on the same
felt
page.
that way.
All right, guys. Let's move on to the next track.
We are now entering But Not of the World.
Ooh.
Side B.
The
Mhm.
next track. The sun began to rain.
With some loaded dice, but the lamb rolled a 7 back to paradise. The bread was finely leavened, so I had a slice, and the sun began to rain. Water swelled from fountains and then turned to wine. Rocks fell from
I fully expected this to be Kylan's favorite song.
I love this song. This is like,
I mean-
it's pretty close.
Oh, TJ, the floor recognizes TJ.
I've got one question
Okay.
for you guys. What in the vaudevillian Marx Brothers fever dream is going on here?
Okay, well, this goes to my favorite fun fact that I have been just. It's been
I
so hard
know.
not to talk about.
Talk
I
about
know
the
you guys
piano,
know.
Kylan. Tell us.
I know you
tell
guys
us
know,
all
but the
about it.
listeners might not know. This was co-written by Dudley fucking Moore.
Who is, for the listeners
Arthur.
that don't know,
Arthur, the original
Yep.
Arthur.
go on.
That's just wild to me that like Larry Norman and Dudley Moore were just like friends and hung out and wrote this song. I think he said, what was the quote that I read? I'm sure you guys read. I'm sure we read all the same things. It was knocked out in just over a minute
Yep.
with British
Just as long
comedian
as it
Dudley
took.
Moore on piano.
It's kind of insane to think about.
Yeah.
It really is.
I love that as like just like a oh, this guy? Whoa, okay.
Right.
Like, there's just like
Yeah.
just
Cool, man.
hidden in this record that
Great.
until not long ago, a couple years ago, we'd never heard of. And we're like, oh, okay, this big music CCM grandfather of rock and
Yeah.
roll is just friends with Dudley Moore.
Yeah. And they're just like hanging
Casually.
out, like probably getting wasted and just like oh, remember Cole Porter? Let's do a Cole Porter song.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And then like Larry Norman makes it like a little bit about Jesus, and it's just like this is
Well, that's the
so
crazy
funny.
thing. Okay, this song is nuts. Like, I like it as a piece of trivia. Okay, like
Yes.
all the stuff we're saying about it, I like, but I hate it, practically speaking,
really
on this album.
Ah.
Okay, let me tell you why.
Okay.
I like the lyrics as a part of the story, as a part of the
Uh-huh.
concept album.
Mhm.
I like that he's getting a little esoteric and a little like impressionistic, and like, he's not calling Jesus Jesus. He's telling a story. The lamb. He talks about a fox stealing grapes and a vineyard. That's like some Aaron Weiss stuff. Like
Yep.
this is some Me
Right.
Without You, like spiritual father moment. Like it's very cryptic and mythic and cool. And so you guys know I love that. But why is it a vaudeville tune? Why is it a Cole Porter song?
Here's the
Why
thing.
on this album?
TJ,
How does
TJ,
that make
okay,
sense? I can't
okay,
take it seriously. I cannot
listen.
reconcile the music.
Okay, here. Does this
silliness,
help?
Like
Does-
putting on the Ritz.
Hold on.
What
hold
are we
on,
doing?
Hold on. Hold your horses. This is, to go back to my earlier point, this
Uh-huh.
is Larry Norman's Mrs. Morgan.
Yeah,
Mm,
it
okay.
is. You're right.
It's essentially a sketch, right?
It is.
It's like
Yep.
But
let's
brings so much serious lyricism
Right,
to what
right.
should be a silly song. So lyrically,
Which makes
I'd be
it-
on board if
yeah.
it was like a lyrically silly song with a musically
No,
silly
see, I
moment.
think it's
with
I think
better
then it
than
can work
more
both
because
ways because it's fun,
serious,
but
yeah.
also kind of serious. Like,
especially
yeah.
coming after like how heavy like I am a servant was. I think having something
Yeah.
like this that everyone can kind of laugh at, but then also can make you think. Like
Okay.
that seems like quintessential Larry Norman for me.
You're right. You're making good points, and the way I'm making it work for myself right now, Kylan. Josh, you brought up Interstellar. I'm gonna bring up another sort of weird sci-fi movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Did I get
Uh-huh.
that right?
Yes.
Yep.
I always feel like I am gonna say the wrong
Yeah.
words on that title. I think it works if we're viewing Larry as like Jojo Tupaki, or did I get that right? The being that's like all powerful and can transcend all the different multiverses at all times, whenever, wherever. So if we're viewing Larry as that all powerful being that's kind of taking us on a voyage, it's almost Charles Dickens, like past, present, future.
Right.
So if he's that being and he's taking us on a journey, and this is the part where he's taking us, delivering a serious message, but through like a weird early 1900s vaudevillian horrorscape almost, where it's like creepy and like almost like Cuphead.
Why is the
Y'all-
sun
y'all know?
raining on us? Yeah.
Like where it's like creepy, but it's also cute and cartoonish, Mickey Mouse kind of thing. So if if we can read it that way, where like it's like now we're going to like black and white, Charlie
Which
Chaplin.
it seems like a perfect
absurdity.
representation for the absurdity of space and time travel.
Totally. So couching it in that, I can get down with it.
Cool.
It tracks.
Okay.
Because you're
good.
right.
Well, and-
it's Larry being Larry, and it's ridiculous, and it's
Yeah.
great.
No, it
Yep.
does. Yeah, it's
But it's
the
such a departure sonically. That I
no,
was just like,
but that's
what
the
are
thing.
we
Yeah, no,
doing?
you have to look at it the same way you do Mrs. Morgan,
Right.
Like
right.
it's a moment of levity, like
Yes.
couched within a lot of like really heavy shit
Yes.
Yeah.
that.
But the fact that the lyrics are still heavy.
But it's still,
I have
that's the
to
thing,
see
it's
it
still
as
a
Larry
theme
Norman,
though,
though.
because,
Absurdity
and we get
for,
another,
like
we get
for
another,
purpose.
and another land mention, which
Yes.
still keeps it relevant and ties it in.
Totally. Thanks for bringing that up, Josh. I was going to do
Yeah.
it, but I got a little derailed with my
You're trying to make sense
everything
of it all.
everywhere. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
trying to
no, you can't make sense.
make
of it.
my
You
brain.
just- you so like you
So,
have
puzzle
to.
pieces
Yeah,
together.
like musically
Vibe
it
guide
doesn't
the
fit at
hell
all,
out of
but it's
this.
still like,
Yes.
yeah,
Thank
and
you.
it's still so fun.
Correct advice.
My biggest
You gotta
note
vibe.
was, I kind of wish it was longer, but maybe it's perfect that it's this short.
Yeah.
Like,
I couldn't
otherwise,
do
I have
another
no
second of
notes.
this.
Like, I loved it.
I love it
I,
so much.
I like
but,
it, but
I think
I
it's the
need it to be
perfect length.
done when it's done.
Okay, so I love
Yeah,
that
I
we're
like it
all
as
three sort of different levels of this. Josh wanted more, TJ wanted less. I'm like, it's like Goldilocks
You're
for me.
good as
It's
it.
just like, yeah,
Yep.
no, this
Dudley
is
Moore
perfect.
and you,
It's
y'all are
just
just
like,
vibing.
Yeah.
Kylan, you're over like in the corner playing
Kylan's
the
just like,
piano,
"It's
drinking a
Dudley Moore."
cocktail.
Well, here's the thing. I loved it before I knew it was Dudley Moore. I was just like, oh, this is
yeah.
fun.
What was that-
Like,
what was
this
that
is a
moment for
fun
you,
little.
I didn't get to experience it on the podcast. What was that moment for you finding that out?
Mhm.
Was it just like the coolest thing?
It kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because
I
I,
bet it did.
found out okay, so he talks about it. It's mentioned on the Wikipedia page, but
Right.
I found out after going through my like John Lynn deep dive. I found out
Oh, cool.
on Discogs that
So it was like
Dudley
a cherry
Moore
on top
is like
moment.
is like listed, and I was like, wait, what?
You're
Wait.
like, what?
No, like it can't be
That
that
Dudley
Dudley Moore. No, like there's no way it's that Dudley Moore. And then I just like imagine like I want a movie about with hold on, let me think. I would say like Michael Shannon as Larry Norman.
No, that could work.
Oh, okay.
And-
That's fun.
Who would be a good Dudley Moore? Oh,
James
man.
Acaster.
Oh my God, yes, that's perfect. James Acaster as Dudley Moore. I would watch that movie every day. Like that would be the perfect movie. Like just them hanging out for a night, right? Like
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Martin Scorsese's like After Hours situation. Like it's
Mhm.
just a bunch of absurd nonsense with this weirdo, like probably like pseudo serious, like Christian rock guy in the 70s,
Uh-huh.
and Dudley Moore, this like British comedian. Like, oh, that should be a show that has 6 seasons on Peacock that no one has watched. Like,
Except for Kylan.
yeah, exactly. All right, guys. We can also talk about the pun of it all. The sun
Yeah, it's
began
pretty
to
good.
rain.
It's
The
pretty good.
SUN, swap out for an O.
Yeah,
Rain,
SUN,
swap out for the other
NSLA.
rain. Yeah.
Rain. Yep. Yeah, it's clever. It's clever.
It's
Good job, Larry.
Larry's just doing his thing, you know,
Yeah.
and it works.
He is. He's doing his weird thing.
All right, guys.
I love it.
Okay, hold on one
Did
second.
you lose something over there, Kylan?
Yeah, I've been searching all around, but I'm looking specifically. I'm looking for the footprints.
I think that's how we'll find who took a bite out of your record.
Yep.
I think so. There it is.
should.
There it is. Looking
Yeah.
for the footprints.
but this is like the first real song that we've gotten that is included on this track list that was not on the, because we've gotten the 2 like transition tracks here.
This is some sweet bass, y'all.
Yes.
There is some sweet
Dude.
bass.
You guys, so I have 2 favorite songs on this album. In classic TJ form, I'm taking exception to having 1 favorite.
Of course.
I have 2. I've got a vibe favorite, and then I've got a heart favorite. This is my vibe favorite song.
My
This
note is
goes
this is
hard.
100% a vibe song.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's so good. It's like we finally arrived at like Larry's fully evolved psychedelia form. Like
Yeah.
he's just
This
full
is the
into,
Nightmare
like,
version.
stoner
He came
psych
out of
rock.
Nightmare 71 and became this.
Yeah.
Yes. And I am here for it. I didn't know I would be. But this is another big reason why I really wanted us to do this version of the track list, because I think that it brings this weird, like hippie energy to this album that personally I needed. It's kind of a breath of fresh air in a sense, because it's a little less serious folk rocker and more like jam band.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Beatles, Grateful Dead kind of. And like I didn't know, you know, as the like, you know, lyric philosopher heady guy on the show, like I didn't know I was going to need a break from that. But I found myself needing a reprieve from all of that energy. And this is perfect.
Well,
I don't know
and
why I like it so much, but I
love
think
that.
it's great.
Well, because it's like there's not much. It's like basically 1 line of
Yeah,
lyrics,
yeah.
right? And otherwise,
Yeah.
it's just
The
it's
lyrics are
basically a
not
glorified
important.
instrumental.
It's just
Yes, they're not
Yep.
important at all. But it still like fits in, and compared to the original, when we were talking about just the original one, a lot of my notes for side B is side B loses a lot of steam, and so you needed something like this to bring some energy and some cool vibes to side B, and this does exactly that.
Yep. But it's staying on theme with like, we're sort of on a journey. We're looking for the footprints. There was a trail blazed for us to show us how to get to another land of the man who wears the sandals. Like, and they just
Oh,
go
that trail was
around.
blazed,
and
all
around
right.
and around. It was blazed, baby. It was blazed. Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's a.
I know.
it's- Yeah,
I'm
like
bummed-
you
I'm
said,
bummed
Josh,
that
it's a
they
much
cut
needed
this from the
moment.
original release.
I
It's a
know.
big studio exec.
Crazy to
This
me.
isn't even a real song, Larry. Take this off the
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just totally tone deaf, like not getting it at all. It's so fun. The guitar is great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. No,
I don't know
love
how
it.
how they achieved that weird filtered tone. That's like it's like still crunchy, but it's kind of phasey. I don't know. I don't know
It
enough
might just be
about
like double tracked
technology in the
with
70s.
like different.
Oh, yeah.
It was,
different
like just like
EQs
delayed or something like
and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
hmm
yeah,
And so the phase is kind of moving.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it's pretty rad.
it's good.
I'm here for it.
All right. Well, not to shoot down the conversation for that, let's move on to the next track, Shut Down.
I've been shot down, talked about, some people scandalize my name. But here I am, talking about Jesus just the same. I've been knocked down, kicked around, but like a moth.
Okay, this is very much like another throwback. The way Why Should the Devil Have All the Good Music?
Mhm.
Just
Well, it's the
Yeah.
second time
Old
Larry's
school rock
gone
and
to
roll.
the 50s rock sound.
yeah,
Which I feel like he uses when he wants to communicate something to the older generation
yeah.
of like Christians who are
Ooh,
like
that's good.
aren't
That's good.
on brand with what
Ooh,
he's
yeah.
doing. He uses
Gosh,
this to speak to
wow.
them like, hey, you're used to the 50s sound. Let me tell you something because you're not
Yeah.
as like thrown off by it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Because
that-
it is
that's so
it is
smart. Yeah, that's
entirely
very astute.
a pushback on critique that he had been getting from people, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's why the song exists. So
Mhm.
he's just trying to connect with that audience, like you said, Josh. That's so great, and say like, "Hey, we're on the same team here. Like,
Yeah.
don't worry, guys.
Yep.
Still talking about Jesus."
Do we need to do a grammar jams now about the word backslidden?
Let's
I
go.
don't know.
man.
I said
What do you got
I
to
love
say?
how he says Backschlitten, which is it's coincidentally the German town my family immigrated from. Backschlitten.
Wait, isn't that the famous water park? I'm pretty sure I've been there.
Yeah, in New Braunfels, yeah.
Yeah.
I love the slides
Backschlitten.
at Backschlitten.
That's good. I love.
Doesn't
I love
he kind of sound like?
We all had a joke for that.
Yep. Doesn't he kind of sound like Waylon Jennings a little bit, Kyle?
a little bit. I can see that.
A little bit.
I can
Yeah,
see
he's doing a
that.
little
If you put it
different
in
voice.
like 50s rock and roll,
Yeah,
just the same, like that kind of
Yeah.
throaty,
I could see that for
waily
sure.
kind of thing that he's doing that he never does again on this album. Like that style of vocal is like,
No,
Yeah.
I was like,
One
is
and
this
done.
Larry? Yeah.
yeah, it threw me.
It's like
Not mad about it.
the 70s version of like butt rock.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like I was trying to find an analog, and the closest thing I could come up
Yeah,
with
no,
was,
Waylon makes a
Waylon
lot of sense,
really
for sure.
leaning into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The time has now come, gentlemen. This is my favorite song.
Of course it is.
Okay.
Of course it is.
I cannot tell you how many times in the last week I have listened to this song.
That you have
I
backslidden.
love it. I have been backslidden almost every day. I've been backslidden. It's so.
Okay, why is
so
this your
good.
favorite?
I mean,
Yeah. Tell
I
us.
love the retro vibe of it.
Yeah.
The guitar, Mr. Wonderfingers Lynn is just the guitar is so good
It's
over
insane.
it.
And the bass.
Yeah,
Boom,
and the
boom,
bass,
boom,
all of it
boom.
is so good.
Boom, boom,
I
boom.
like the. I think it's just perfect. Like I said, if you don't like this song, I don't know what to tell you. Like it's just so fun. It's a great, especially on the original one coming after the sun began to rain. It does make sense because we're kind of still couched in these like retro throwback vibes of like kind of funny songs, but still saying real things.
Yeah.
And like and the notes on songslarrynorman.com, it does say Andre Kraut suggested that I write this song. We were flying back from some festival we did together, and he suggested I compose an answer to all the speculation and gossip I'd put up with. I didn't take him seriously, but then the song popped up one day, and I sat down and tried to make it a song that might make other people laugh about the situation too, which I think is a great way like to push back, to be like, hey, you guys have
Yeah.
been doing this to me, instead of like making a diss track and coming for you. It's like, hey,
Yes.
let's like poke fun at how absurd and silly all of this is.
The whole thing is exactly.
Yeah.
And like I needed that context, Josh, to really, I think, appreciate the song, because just taking it at face value, I was like, my initial notes were like, this feels heavy-handed and defensive and like
Right.
kind of like pushy almost. But reading that about the story behind the song and like him wanting to give it like a winking fun response and just
Yeah.
like be
Because
playful about it.
that
makes
feels
me
like
fall in
Yeah.
love with it.
like the Larry Norman response to something like that,
Yes,
right?
right.
Like
Yeah, not taking
Um,
it too seriously, but still
Yeah,
trying to make a
this, we
point.
can all laugh about it. Yeah.
I
Yes.
also love that idea that the song just popped up one day,
Yeah,
and,
Like,
and I
okay.
love like the well, like listening to the song, you know, because he's done a couple of songs like this. I love that idea that, you know, a 1950s throwback kind of rock song
mm-hmm.
is Larry Norman's version of like, when I can't figure out what kind of song I'm gonna write, I just write like an emo song, like an early 2000s,
Right.
like pop
Right.
punk emo song.
It's your go-to.
It's
your go-to
yeah, it's
mode.
just like if I'm just like
It's just-
fucking
you can just
around,
go
I'm
there.
like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm gonna write a Taking Back Sunday song, you know?
Right,
So,
they're familiar
that's great.
waters that you grew up swimming in, so of course
Yeah.
you're going to return to them, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's great. Sweet. Okay,
I love it. It's great.
let's move on to the next track, 666.
Of the war, he offered us peace. He came like a lover from out of the east, with the face of an angel and the heart of a beast. His intent,
Which I don't understand the context. Like, Why did he name the song
Telling
a
you,
bunch
man.
of random numbers?
Oh,
What is that?
I think this is probably, you know how he had like, Righteous Rocker number 3, Nightmare number 71. I think it's just like one of those kind of things.
This was
Okay.
his.
This is probably version
666th
66 of the song 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That feels devilish.
Pretty crazy, huh? No, why would you even say
No,
that? Kylan?
devilishly
I don't know
clever.
how that connects at all.
Oh,
Got
yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
No, Larry's
he does,
wearing his apocalypticist on his sleeve.
For
on this one, yeah.
sure. Yeah. No, this is straight up like,
Oh, it's an apocalyptic sweater
yeah.
Uh-huh.
that he knit himself.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that
But that
banjo's so
banjo, though,
good.
can we
Oh,
talk
that
about that?
banjo's so fucking good.
It just
Ah,
comes out of nowhere.
give me
it
more of
shows
that
up,
banjo.
It literally
and then
pans
just
across.
as mysteriously
I
as it
know.
came,
I know.
it leaves. And then it comes back again. You thought it was gone, but
is
it's
the
not.
banjo Satan in this story? Did he
It's
fall?
I
He
like to
came and
think
he was
yes.
too
Lucifer is being
beautiful
played by the banjo today.
and fell from heaven only to return to tempt us with more beautiful banjo sounds.
More banjo. That's right. It's pretty great.
It is good. Where he kind of does his piano ballads. Sometimes he loses me a little bit, but like when he does stuff like this, like UFO and The Outlaw, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can just listen to folk Larry Norman all day.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
It
For
works.
sure.
Dude, I don't know if this is a reference to something that I'm just not as savvy on, but the very last stanza that starts, he told us he loved us, but that was a lie. This next line is amazing. There was blood in his pockets and death in his eyes. That's incredible.
Oof.
I could have never come up with that in a million years. Blood in his pockets. That's
Yeah.
insane. Huh. Gives me shivers.
I love it. Wait, you never
He's got some
took
waterproof pockets.
took blood in your pockets to school for Spirit Week?
You know, it wasn't on the pamphlet that
We
they
had
sent home
like
for my
Backwards
parents. No, I guess
Day,
not.
Crazy Colors Day, Blood in Your Pockets Day.
Blood in Pockets Day, of course. Yeah, I don't know.
Come on, we all had Carry Day at school.
I went to
It
a
must have
real
been-
small school, Kyle.
Okay.
I guess they just weren't
Okay.
up to date on all the
I'm really sad you didn't get that
events.
quintessential school experience, TJ.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a real bummer.
Well, I'm really still confused about what he's doing at the very end of the song. If the band will play 60, if the band will play 666, which episode was it where I mentioned that it felt like the singer got distracted? Do y'all remember that? Which album were we covering where I was like, it comes off as if the singer like saw something and like dug on
Yeah.
up, like
I-
got distracted by a squirrel
I
and was
can't
just like,
remember.
what?
I
Anyway,
don't
whatever
remember.
episode that was,
Jammers,
this is
if you
another
know,
Almost on
iteration
100
of
records out
that.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, please tell us. Anyway, this feels like that, where Larry just like forgot what he was doing. Maybe he had a stroke. I don't know.
I like that he adds one every time. I think it's cool.
Well, but he starts to say
Or is
the
it just
next
the delivery? Oh, okay. Maybe he
So
did
he
it.
doesn't
And he's
say
like, hey, we should need to
6.
cut. And maybe it was a post decision. Like, oh,
Yeah.
actually, I think it'd be cool. Can you cut that from the tape? And then it just has a little bleed. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's to me, it sounds like he literally what we hear is what he did, and it feels like he like wasn't sure if he was gonna sing another line.
660.
What was the number again that
What
I
was the number?
wrote this song about?
Yeah.
I can't. 650. No shit. Okay. I just don't get it. I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying to make it an effective part of the song in my mind, and I don't. So if y'all have any theories at all, I'm here for it. But it was confusing.
I think we gave them all.
because I liked the
I
song.
think that was. I think those were our
Yeah.
theories.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Larry, what are you doing, man?
Who
I
knows?
just want to understand. Cool song though.
It is a cool
But
song.
We've asked what Larry's doing. I think there's someone else we need to ask.
Yes.
what they're
Okay.
doing,
Let us
Kylan.
go on a
Yeah.
little tangent, my friends.
Yes, I've been looking
Um,
forward to this, Kylan.
So we have mentioned Frank Black a few times on our previous
Mhm.
Larry Norman episodes. He was a huge Larry Norman fan. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize that his band, so Frank Black of the Pixies, heard of him? American
Yep,
rock band,
sure
the
have.
Pixies.
A couple times.
Had a side project called Frank Black and the Catholics. And they did a cover of this song that I had not heard until this week. That, let me tell you, guys, diamond hard bop town for me.
Yep.
Diamond.
No, it's great.
Diamond hard bop. That is a new
Diamond
level.
hard.
On this
That is a new
cover.
level.
Let's just listen to a little bit of it.
Offered us peace, and it came like a lover from out of the east, with the face of an angel and the heart of a beast. His intentions were sex.
So, okay, that's the TikTok clip right there of just all of us going, like, just like the white guy musician, like, yeah, okay.
Really feeling it.
I play this for my wife, who's like a pretty big Pixies fan. She had no idea who this was.
Nice.
His
I love that.
voice sounds so different on this.
It is very different. Yeah. He's really doing the rockabilly thing.
Yes,
You know?
for sure.
Great.
I love this cover.
It's really fun.
Yeah, it's got a lot of personality. I'm into it.
It feels like it was
So-
just like one take live.
Oh, for
everyone
sure.
in the room. Like,
Yeah, because I mean, you got someone yelling kind of harmonies on 666, but
well, then
they're
he like
behind.
laughs at the end.
Yeah.
Too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I just need to know how it ends because I listened to it when you sent it to us, Kylan, but I didn't get to the end. And now it's driving me nuts that I don't know how he. Okay,
Like,
that's great.
he makes it
I
intentional.
like how he does it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Like,
he-
he
Cuts
makes it.
off at the number. He doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
start to say the next one and then like forget what he was doing for a second.
Yeah, no, it fully feels intentional. Oh, that's such a good cover. Everyone should
Oh,
listen
yeah.
That's
to it.
great.
Like-
Good find, man.
I can't
for
not
sharing that
hear
with us.
Larry's version whenever he ends a song and not hear Frank Black yelling, "If the band will play
Yeah.
666," which is
Uh-huh.
great.
So
It's
good.
great.
Yeah,
So
that
good.
is great.
Well,
Diamond Heart Bop, you said.
I
Diamond
did.
Hard
Oh,
Bop.
there we go. Thank you. I was
Set
trying to make
yourself up, man.
Yeah, I thought he did.
I was trying to make a diamonds are a girl's best friend, but I didn't know
Best
how
friend.
to
Yep.
like refer to you guys as girls and tie it all back. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, beautiful
You
producer.
set
Josh.
yourself up.
I did. God, I'm so good
Mhm,
at this.
mhm.
All right, next track. Diamonds.
You can take your diamonds and lock them in your room, and you will
There you go. We got the orchestra again.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yep.
Coming back for like, this is like only the third time we've really had the orchestra, really, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely like as far as making a really grand appearance, I think.
Mm-hmm. This one, it's hard for me to talk about this and not the next one, but
Yeah.
Well,
like
and
this
they're
one,
they're connected on some versions of the album.
yes, exactly, which I
As
think they
one-
should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
maybe
agree.
more. I have more thoughts on that, but this one, just this one by itself, I like. It doesn't feel like it goes anywhere on its own enough to be its own song identity.
Exactly.
For sure.
I think
like,
it should be like the Déjà Vu medley where it's one track.
Yep.
This one and
yes,
one
I
way.
agree.
yes. So I like it, but yeah, it. And even the first time I was listening to it, I was like, I didn't realize because it just transitions right into the next one, and I was like, good transition, but also maybe too good. It should have just been the same song. Who knows? You know?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
those are my thoughts on it. I like
Yeah.
it, but should be
Also
part of one way.
crazy, there's a Sigaros song that has a moment that's very similar to this orchestral moment. And like I have never until listening to this song had never heard anything remotely close to
Right.
that moment in that song.
So
Like-
I guess like musically, what we found out is Larry Norman is The Simpsons, right? Like everything in pop culture,
Pretty much.
everyone says,
Like
"Oh,
the progenitor of all
The
cool pop
Simpsons
culture
did it
stuff.
first." It's like, oh, okay,
Yep.
Larry Norman did it first.
Yeah. Honestly, though.
yeah. So should we just go right into the next track because the
Yeah,
song
let's
did,
do
and it makes so much sense. Like
Yeah.
they should just be one track.
It just feels like a
Yeah.
setup. Like it's it's just the opening movement of a longer song.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. It's so good.
We're back to
Josh,
digging the head
Josh,
voice.
do you not like it? Yeah, I like
No,
it.
I'm glad that you are liking it. As things are getting tender and like he's singing very much head voice here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but
Uh,
I like the effects on the vocal. The real
Yeah,
like,
they're great.
like it's like a reverb, but it's like a
It's a real
like a
bright reverb,
spring
yeah.
reverb.
Yeah, it's like just spring, and yeah, like
Uh-huh.
no low frequencies at all.
Yeah.
It feels like snow falling on a vocal track or something.
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
Oh, I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do really like him kind of bringing in because we get the Robert Frost reference of using the
Yeah.
two roads diverged.
Mhm.
And I like getting to like tie that into like the one way of it all. Like there's two roads, but there's one way.
Yeah.
Like taking this piece of pop culture poem and then tying it into like referencing Robert Frost and then also referencing Jesus, and you have the two in the one. I thought that was pretty clever.
I was gonna say that line or like that reference. Originally, I was like, oh, "Okay, I get it,"
Right.
but in an effort to, as I've said a few times over the last year or so, I want to really be rigorous and fair in my assessment of different genres, different songs, different writing approaches, and I don't want to just write it off because it doesn't feel fresh to me in 2024.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
it did feel stale and derivative when I first heard it. I'll admit, but then placing myself in the mid 70s, I was like, you know what? That's actually pretty effective and pretty thoughtful ultimately to use the Robert Frost poem and then, like you're saying, Josh, kind of inject this idea of one way and, you know, the journey going into another land, and you know, it supports the theme on a broader level too. So it took some work for me to get to that point of like seeing everything you just explained, Josh. At first I was just like, oh, Robert Frost, huh?
Yeah, well, in 2024, you're
Baby's
like,
first poetry
oh,
book.
wow, you're referencing Robert Frost here, but then I'm like, oh, cool, at least, like, this has been, obviously, that was penned much earlier, but, like, yeah, even in 50 years ago, almost, it was even still a big cultural thing.
Right. It's like
because I think a lot of people have leaned on Robert Frost between then and now. I don't know that many people had at that point, you know, where it would feel stale.
But it's almost like watching the I Love Lucy show and getting mad at the laugh track.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You're like, well, I mean,
you gotta
like laugh tracks are so done, man. It's like, well, okay,
Yeah,
but like
exactly.
think about
Yeah, you got to meet it on
like
its own
like
terms.
the importance of that one kind of specific thing for this genre of entertainment was kind of, you know, like popularized there.
Mhm.
So
Always bringing it back.
One thing, yeah, no, you
it's,
trying to
that's
turn it
wonderful.
into a TV and movies
Yeah.
podcast.
Like an abusive ex.
One thing I love.
Here I am.
Oh my god,
You keep crawling back.
Oh, my God.
crawling back, and you'll keep crawling back to that metaphor.
That's right.
One thing I love is on the songs of LarryNorman.com. The lyrics on this song
Not
at
a
the very
sponsor.
end, when he's doing "Children of the Sky," "Children of the Sky." Yeah, not a sponsor. Then it goes, Ha he oh. So they didn't just do like a
Yeah.
whoa or like
No.
oh. They typed out
they typed it all
ha
out.
They're
he
like,
oh.
I'm not hearing a regular whoa here, guys.
Right.
This requires its own
Yep.
spelling.
It calls for some
sure.
nuance.
I love
But
it.
no, it's a cool song, and I do think it lands what Diamonds tease up, you know? It feels like it, goes from, the idea of not being able to take it with you to realizing like, there's only one way to heaven. We're the children of the sky, not of the earth. Like that kind of dichotomy is effective. The sky as a setting, and like night and day. Again, we're getting a lot of like past, present, future time context as well.
Yep.
And the roads don't just diverge in a place; they diverge in his life as well. I like that too. I meant to mention that a second ago. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Good
It is
job,
good.
Mr. Norman.
Good song. Thumbs up.
Okay, so let's move on to the next song, which is obviously written about us.
Obviously.
A small circle of friends. Here's Song for a Small Circle of Friends.
with Clapton on guitar and Charlie on the drums, McCartney on the Hofner bass with blisters on his thumbs.
This is my other favorite song.
That makes sense.
This is your heart favorite song?
That's
Is
right,
that correct?
Josh.
Okay.
It is. Yeah,
That makes a lot of
TJ,
sense.
is Sooth going to cover this song? Come on.
maybe.
Come on. Come on. Do it.
Okay, probably.
Do
probably.
it. Sooth should totally cover this song.
Yeah.
What do you love about the song, TJ?
I think I realized that I am a sucker for a really good like friendship song,
Yeah.
just because I think
Me
they're
too.
so wholesome.
Doesn't make
And-
sense. Knowing you, that doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
no,
for me, you know?
that's weird,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that-
I'm
I know
really
it's a
thrown by
shocker.
that. Yeah,
It's pretty crazy. But no, there's not enough songs about friends,
you're right.
Like there's a lot of love songs out there, and like there aren't enough songs about friends.
It's
And
true.
this just feels so honest and sweet, like
Mhm.
pure. Also, it's a welcome change from the big kind of grandiose concept.
Yeah.
It's zooming way in, and it's going from macro to micro. It's going to personal. We're using proper nouns. We're getting some name drops. He starts with his buddy Randy Stonehill,
Right.
and it's a send up. It's like a love letter to his buddy, which I think is so sweet and just touching. And then he zooms out a little bit to Eric Clapton and Charlie from, is it the Rolling Stones?
Charlie Watts. Yep.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah, the drummer.
McCartney on the Hofner bass with
Yeah.
blisters on his thumbs. I mean, and then the Bob Dylan verse, like he uses the word jokes, and it makes me think of Joker and the Thief or Joker Man, which came out later.
Right.
And like, I also can't help but think about how this song came out a few years before Bob Dylan's religious phase,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and how like I just wonder if he heard this song, and
Right.
if there was
Or if
like
Larry was
a
part
little
of
bit of
that.
an
Larry
impact.
was,
Yeah.
if they were just talking. and
yeah.
stuff.
So
Interesting.
I think it's really sweet.
Yeah.
I just like where he's coming from on a heart level, and yeah, all the name drops are just really fun. So it's him doing what we've seen him do in the past and loved, but on a more tender level, I think.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because on Reader's Digest we got the pop culture name drop references, but then kind of like playful, and maybe even sometimes TJ, you thought they're a
Yeah.
little maybe antagonistic,
mean.
Like
Where
cynical,
this
yeah,
one-
exactly.
yeah. Where
But I
this
think that's
one is
why I
like,
like this. It's because it
Yes.
proves to me what y'all convinced me of, was that it was meant to be joking and like sweet and funny. And like this proves that to me. Like I think it's full circle for me, like seeing,
Yeah.
like it's coming from a
he
heartfelt
really has a
place.
heart for these people that he's
Yes.
singing about and that he's friends with in certain cases. Yeah,
Right.
no, I really like it too.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't know. It's just great. He's just being a sweetie, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? There should be more songs about friends.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's do it.
I'm trying to
Songs
think.
about
Do we know
friends
any
in low
songwriters?
places, but
Right, friends in low places. Is there a?
Get by with a little help.
for my friends.
There's
my
a
friends.
Michael W. Smith Friends song, right?
Yeah.
Friends are friends forever.
Yeah.
The Lord of them. Yeah. There's a Glorietta song, the side project with Matthew Logan Vasquez and a few other people about
Oh,
friends that I
there's-
really like. But there's not a lot. There's not a lot out there.
No.
There should be more.
So way to go, Larry.
Everyone's got
Way to write a
multiple
friend song.
We could argue my song "We're Getting Old" is about friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sing it
good.
with
Yeah.
me now.
Yeah.
We're
I would
all
say
getting
so.
old. It's not like a romantic song.
hmm
People don't know that song, Kylan, because you need
No,
to
I
release
know.
it.
Motherfucker, I know. I know.
It's one of my favorite songs.
I
of
know.
yours,
Yeah,
so it
me
needs to
too.
be out there.
If these are the best days of our lives, then kill me now.
So good.
Okay, guys, it comes down to this. The last track, Friends Are Friends Forever. No, sorry. Hymn to the Last Generation. This ties it all together. This is a nice little bow on this ostensibly concept record.
hmm
Yes.
Like, you've got the orchestra like fully in tune. Everyone's ready to go, right? Pulling it back to
Yep.
the beginning.
Well, in the opening string part, it seems like it's the melody of "The Sun Began to Rain."
Yep.
Correct?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So we get that little side
Which-
A open,
Yeah,
side
I
B
like
open
that
to side B
reprise.
closing.
And it kind of like, I think it helps me like the original version of The Sun Began to Rain a little bit because there's that bookend. It like legitimizes it,
has
for me
more,
on a
yeah,
certain
more
level.
of its more placement for why it's in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious what y'all think, because I had the idea. I love it as it has to be the last track.
Mhm.
I kind of had the idea of adding to where we had the trilogy before, and you could do the trilogy again where it's Diamonds, One Way, and Hymn to the Last
Oh,
Generation
I like
as like a
that.
suite. Because you have
Mm.
the old suite
Yeah.
on side A of like our old songs, and then this is how we end this as we're closing the trilogy with a
that's-
trilogy.
That's great. That's beautiful. I love
like
it.
that
and
a
it's
lot.
all like it's all
10 out of
like
10. Wood
orchestra, piano, all this stuff. Yeah, so
Would skate to that
I
medley.
feel like it would work. You know,
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
into it.
That's great. And then
Yeah.
okay.
And
And then if
in
you
that
add
case,
the top 40 stuff like mixed in, oh dude, guys, we made a killer record.
and Song for a Small Circle could be either closer to the middle, maybe, because it is such a departure, or it could be
Right.
between 666 and the trilogy that you're putting together for us here, Josh.
yeah,
So-
it could be. We'd have to find a good place for that, but yeah, that's
Could
kind
it
of what I was
start
thinking.
side B?
I
so-
like that. I don't know if
I
that would
love
make
Sun
sense
Began to
because
Rain to
Okay.
start, but
yeah, you kind of
All right.
want
you could maybe come
theme
off
to
of
stay-
Shot Down because it's like,
Oh, yeah.
hey, I've had all these people saying stuff about me, but these are my circle of
But
friends.
I have my
they're coming
circle of
back to
friends.
the
Oh,
friends.
there it is.
Yeah,
there it
that's it.
is.
That's it.
yeah, nice.
landed the plane, Josh. Yeah,
And then it goes back into the bigger narrative of like the end times of you get Satan come
Yeah.
on the scene, and then you have boom, Diamonds, One Way, Hymn to Last Generation to bring it more gospel centered.
So good.
hmm
Boom.
yeah, being guided into another land at the very end.
Yep.
I know. I love that we get
Finally
it at
there.
the beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
And end, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to get into because we've been going a while, and I don't know how interested listeners are in a 3-hour Larry Norman episode, but
I know I
Who
am.
knows?
oh
Who
no,
knows?
I mean I'm here for all of this. Like I love it. I want to
too.
start with TJ. I feel like you have a lot of really like salient, articulate thoughts.
And I want to know original track list compared to this track list too. Like
Exactly.
what you were feeling
Yeah.
on
For
the
sure.
proper, in quotes, track list versus the reworked.
Right. Yeah. It's tricky, man. I definitely, so like I said when we were talking about Flopperbot predictions, I was going in with a lot of hopeful energy, and that's what made my initial listens really rough
Yeah.
because you know, let this episode be a testament to how much sequencing matters.
Sequencing
We
matters.
straight
It's
up
so important.
decided to cover this version of the track list and not the official commercial version.
Yeah.
So and that version is bad, you guys. It's a
Yeah.
stinking pile of trash. It's so rough. Like,
I wouldn't go that far, but I'm pretty
no,
close to you.
I'm going that far.
No, I know. I love it.
because
I love it.
I believe in certain artists, and I want to get an unadulterated version of what they can do.
Yeah.
I want to have no barrier, no filter between me and the artist, right? Like that's like art is communication, it's expression and conveyance of ideas and emotions and experiences. And so the more direct, if you can just like inject it into my veins, I like if you could inject music into my veins, I would take it. And so I want when I know that an artist is very thoughtful, especially and on top of that has a concept in mind that's gonna span 3 albums, multiple years, all kinds of extra
Yeah.
songs that
Let 'em land the
will
plane.
not make
Oh,
the track list.
oh,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
Oh. Can I
What's
tie this
going
back
on,
in?
buddy?
Can I turn this into a movie podcast again?
Sure.
The trilogy of these 3 albums feels like the mistake of the studio deciding to bring J.J. Abrams back in for Star Wars after The Last Jedi. I feel like people didn't get The Last Jedi, and so I think they made a huge mistake to try to reach for commercial success.
Nah, there were more problems behind the scenes than just
No,
JJ.
no.
JJ probably didn't help, but
It was a
There
mistake.
were a lot of issues.
It was a mistake.
Yeah. Sure. So
That's
what?
all I have.
How are you? That
Well,
was
yeah,
okay.
no,
So
no,
that's
no,
the
no,
commercial
no,
version
no.
of the track list.
Yes, exactly. The
The
commercial
official-
version
the
of the track
quote-unquote
list
official?
is
Got it.
the mistake of the studio bringing Abrams back in when
Got it,
I
okay.
didn't I didn't
Sure,
think
well-
he had like a full handle on where that story was going. And so then I think he tried really hard to like hit all of the commercial beats that would
The
make
beats,
it
yeah,
a
totally.
successful film that would resonate with, the vague
broadest
idea
demographic.
of audiences rather
Yeah,
than continuing what Ryan Johnson had done on
The
The Last Jedi.
hypothetical.
I don't know. Rise of
Average
Skywalker
audience
is my
member.
favorite Star Wars movie.
What's that?
Anyway, we'll go with the analogy for the purposes of Larry Norman's album. I'm following what you're saying, Kyle.
Yeah.
And yes, as a listener, I want to understand the artist's vision. I want to be as close to it as I possibly can, so I have the greatest opportunity to understand it, right?
Right.
If good art communicates something and makes you feel something, that's what I'm looking for. And if I guess the label wanted me to understand that it doesn't understand sequencing or its artist or how to, make good art, and it made me want to feel mad, it succeeded in that. But so the commercial version, the official version, with the track list starting with The Rock That Doesn't Roll, not having the tune-up moment, not having the top 40 survey, going right into I Love You, which is a song that the track list we covered does not have at all for good reason.
Yeah.
And then having UFO with no context of top 40.
Yeah.
I've searched all around right after that, yada yada. I like Look Into Jesus was its own thing, and If God Is My Father is its own thing. There's no Looking for the Footprints. It's just kind of a mess. There's you know, Strong Love Strange Peace in there somewhere as another bonus track.
Right.
That may or may not show up depending on which version you get. I just think the production of this album, like to get it across the finish line, was just a mess. Like I don't know what was happening, but it made me
Yeah.
really mad. Like I was getting like actually mad listening to it because I was like, this doesn't make sense. You can hear certain songs that have transitions, like UFO, for example,
Right.
that start, and you can hear the beeping of the spaceship,
Yeah.
and you're like, why is that there? Without having the context of top 40, you don't know why that's there, and it's
Yeah.
confusing,
Yeah.
and it throws you, and nothing makes any sense. There's string arrangements that start that had like a tail end in the song before them that would lead into the string arrangement. It was just kind of a total pile of nonsense. But then when I found this other track list and I saw the Act 1, Act 2, the Rise and Fall, the Déjà Vu medley as an intentional three-piece suite. I love your idea, Josh, of Diamonds One Way, Hymn to the Last Generation, but at least realizing that Diamonds in One Way are two parts of one song idea, understanding the sequencing that Larry originally intended, having the tune-up moment at the very beginning of the album, all these things, looking for the footprints right in the middle as a weird psych rock moment that kind of wakes your ears up. All these things show how strong the album actually is as a work of, effectively 16 songs, 15 or 16 songs. And like, I love that album. I admire that album. I think it's a strong third installment to the Time trilogy, if we want to call it that. And
I like that.
I think that track list from me gets a very strong bop, but it also introduces, I think, if I'm right, a new type of bop to this show.
Ooh, new bop
I
unlocked.
think. Yes. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time that I have it would be a strong bop on its own without this, regardless, because the album's great.
Right.
But it is a principal bop from TJ. On principle, I have to insist that this track list specifically gets a bop because I'm that mad about how much the
How much of a
label screwed things up.
disservice we were done as listeners.
Yes.
Hearing that
exactly.
original version. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
right there with you, buddy.
And without
Yeah.
us digging into it and trying to figure out, wait, what was his vision? What was he actually going for? Because this is a mess and he's better than that. Like without us doing that, people would maybe kind of stumble across the quote unquote official version and be like, wow, Larry really went south after so long ago.
Yeah,
or
he had one
only
hit
visiting,
after
depending on-
only visiting and couldn't get it together
Right.
again after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and that's just not the case in my opinion. And I think this track list proves that. I think we're doing the good work out there covering this version.
Sequencing is
and
so
I have to give it.
important.
It's crucial, you guys, and I have to give it a principal bop on
Yes.
that count.
Yes.
For that reason.
I love that.
So I'm a man of principle,
Yeah.
and I give it a principal bop.
Okay, I want to jump in with not much else to add, but just just to
I said a
talk
lot.
more. No.
Cool.
No, it's less
That's why you're on the
about
show, Kylan.
about what you said and more like, well, okay, I'm gonna hitch my my star to this wagon. Is that the phrase?
That's what people
Flip
say.
it.
Okay.
Reverse it.
Wait, hitch my wagon to this star. Well,
Yeah,
I
that's
like viewing you as the
because the
wagon.
star has the power.
Oh no,
Sure, I'll be the wagon. Why not?
No, because
I
the
don't
wagon,
care.
the wagon has the power, right? Like you're moving along, you're like
Sure,
clearing the
how they
path,
work, yep.
doing the work, and I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna shine for a moment and then just like fizzle out.
Cool.
So I'm
Sure,
gonna
we'll go
hitch
with
my
that.
star to this wagon.
Okay.
This version of the album is also a huge bop for me. I was much more on the fence with the original track list. I was like, yeah, I mean, like there's some good songs. It was gonna be like a squeak bop for me.
Mm.
I was like,
Wow, okay.
yeah, like there's like some stuff here. Like I can see it. I can see Songwriting, he seems to be maybe in a little bit of a stronger place. But then, dude, when you introduced us to this alternate track list, I saw the vision for the record.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh my God, this all makes so much more sense. And even with like the things that kind of bugged me, like the length of the top 40 track and
Right.
but I mean, they were few and far between. This felt a lot more cohesive. Like this like made sense as an album versus like a couple of songs that anchored it that were really good on their own. And those songs I saw in an entirely new light on this listen. So hard, diamond hard bop.
Diamond hard.
Let's go.
Coming
From
back.
me.
2 new bops on the show.
Yeah.
Would you say it
Wow.
rocks and doesn't roll?
Yes.
Away with the
Upon further
Bob
assessment.
assessment. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad that we get to have our Last Crusade return to form.
Yes.
For the
Yes.
trilogy,
This is the Last
where everyone
Crusade.
is enjoying it, and yeah, everyone's coming with all this trivia and facts and
I know.
context. It's
Josh
great.
is so
It's
stoked.
great.
This is
I'm
the
so-
most prepared TJ and I have ever been for an episode.
Like
Yeah.
it's 3 years in the making, so it makes sense.
Like-
but
Yeah.
like
Because
You set us up, man.
I feel like based on the album, we have these like disparate moments. Like if it's like more of a TJ album, like he'll come a lot more prepared. Or if it's more of a Kylan album, like I'll come with some facts. But both of us did a lot of like outside research.
Mm-hmm.
So
Some digging,
Josh,
some soul
this
searching.
is it. This is your graduation. We don't need you anymore.
get yep.
It's been fun.
Send me off to college.
Yep, it's been a good ride. Thanks for being on Church Jams Now as our special guest for
I
you
can't
know,
teach you anything
for,
else. You've learned everything.
80 episodes.
You don't even need me anymore. Yeah.
We won't
Yeah, I was
see
gonna
you
say
back,
it's more like
but-
we're graduating.
Yeah.
Like Josh was the teacher.
Yeah. Josh, I guess is
To
there
go
is there
start your own
anything
podcast
you want to plug? Thanks for so much for being on Church Jams Now.
Plug,
This is my
but-
send off
but yeah.
episode.
plug
Yeah.
how you feel about the
Yeah.
album, Josh.
Well, I want to talk about originally, I was feeling a little bit better than y'all were. I was feeling, I think side A starts off pretty strong, and then like side B, you kind of lose a lot of the steam
Yeah.
of having, of not having a lot of that context and some of the different track list changes. So it would have probably been in its original form like a soft bop for me. Not a squeak bop, but a soft bop. I would have bopped it. But I was like, I enjoyed it more than so long ago. So, and I bopped that one. So definitely I feel like he's landing the plane a little bit more with this one. But yeah, this in the 88 special edition track list, which I do want to mention, according to, there was in 2006, there's a Missing Pieces CD that was released that in the liner notes, it says, this is the running order on the original master tape, which was sent to Word UK. The tape was never
we
returned to
talked
Solid
about that
Rock.
a little bit.
Yeah,
too.
and it's mostly the same. There are
Right.
some slight differences that you can check out if you want. And I don't know which one I prefer more. You don't have top 40, and then it does kind of shift a couple songs around. It's the same, other than not having top 40, it's the same songs, just shifted around a little bit.
Cool.
But I don't know. I like this one, and I don't think it has the Déjà Vu medley, which I think is very important.
Yep.
Of having that "Wish We'd All Been Ready" in there as well, because it's really beautiful having that in there. So having that context of having, I think, even an even longer album, which feels appropriate if you're gonna end this trilogy and land the plane,
Right.
and looking for the footprints on there, which not including is such a bummer because that song is so cool. I can confidently say this is a very comfortable and secure bop from me.
There we go.
And I'm just so
Nice.
glad we were able to end the trilogy on a high note where we're all excited. almost as excited as we were whenever we did Only Visiting This Planet
That's
at the
true.
end. And
Yeah.
that was a highlight for me on the show, and I'm glad that we're all able to enjoy what Larry did all these years later with the third record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
In the past, the present, and the future.
Yep.
You know? We're in that other land. We've arrived. And I like it. It's a good place.
Okay, so much like Genie, I guess, Josh, you've been released of your servitude. You got the 3
Wish for
Larry
something crazy.
Norman albums.
I wish for the Nile.
And I guess we set you free. You know, we'll have you back on if we do another Newsboys.
Wait. Do
or
I have one more
something.
wish?
Nope.
I wish for a million more episodes with Josh.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Wish granted.
Okay.
All
All right.
Heck yeah.
He's back. He's back forever.
Yeah.
No, this was so much fun. And I want to hear how, like, I really hope that people that listen to this listen to this alternate track list, because TJ, like you said, this was very much an experiment in us putting our money where our mouth is. Sequencing is so important. And this album could potentially like live or die by that, like from our estimation.
It does for me.
So I'm very curious how other people feel about it. If you enjoy this, we have more nonsense like it at our Patreon at patreon.com/ChurchJamesNowPodcast. And of course, from all of us at the Church James Now crew, may all your favorite bands stay together. And of course, peace out, Monfreres.
May all your friends stay in a small circle.
Ooh, there you go.
In another one.